All right.
Let's go.
Looking dapper, gentlemen. Deep breath.
All right, and we are live.
All right, all right, all right.
We're
Well,
on the
long
YouTube.
coming.
Let's go. Oh, I gotta mute myself.
Dapper, gentlemen.
Dang. Okay,
Aw.
here we are. Hello, YouTube. What's up?
What's
You are
going
live
on?
with World War II veteran Arthur Grabiner, and of course Donnie Edwards and myself. And we're gonna have everybody come on one at a time. So if you're watching right now, you can join through Zoom. We've posted a link in the comment section. So click on that link and that'll take you to Zoom and you can join in and ask questions live with us. So Arthur, how you doing today?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Thank you.
Excellent.
Well,
Excellent.
that's wonderful. That's wonderful, Arthur, because I know that we talked when we were at the French embassy with President Macron when you received the wait, were you there in DC? No, that was New York. New York. That's right. In New York. That's right. There you go. That's where we were, New York. That's right. Just incredible time. And we talked about doing this, right? We talked about getting you on a live stream so you can reach out and talk to a lot of the people out there that are very interested in your history and what you did during the Great War of World War II. And I'm sure you're pretty eager to talk to them as well. And for the foundation, this is special because this is something we've been doing for the last 2.5 years now. And we're kicking it back up. We're going to be doing 2 a month. And you are first one. Arthur Grabiner was our first one back as we re-kickstart our live streams where you get an opportunity to ask a question and talk directly with the World War II veteran.
That's
So
right.
with that being,
Check that guy out.
Look at that guy.
Look at that
Look
guy.
at that handsome gentleman. So Arthur, talk about this photo here. Where were you? Give us some background on this photo here.
Give a little background on that photo, Dad.
That's when I got out of boot camp.
Nice.
See, I'm not even a seaman first class. I'm still a second class seaman.
Where'd you go to boot camp?
I went to boot camp in Sampson, New York, up at the Finger Lakes region.
And how old are you in this photo?
I was 18.
18 years old, man.
Baby face.
Wow,
Looking
18.
dapper.
So why'd you decide to join the Navy, Art?
I was drafted. I graduated high school on the last Wednesday in January '44. That Friday, they had me at the draft board and I was accepted physically for service. They asked what branch I wanted, so I told them the Navy. So you got it. That's our quota.
Wow. Well, being from New York, did you know how to swim?
Yes, I know how to swim. Yeah, but not in an ocean like this.
Oh, that's
wonderful.
wonderful. Yeah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. That's great. You have a little background. You want to read a little bio of him growing up in New York, just about family?
My mother, father, and 2 sisters were born in Poland. They emigrated to the United States in 1912. I had another brother and sister born here as I was. I grew up in Lower Manhattan, parts of Brooklyn, and then my rest of my life was in the Bronx. I lived in a neighborhood, apartment buildings, and down the next block was my school. My life consisted 20 blocks north, 20 blocks west, 20 blocks south, 20 blocks east. That was my life for about 18 years growing up. And then I was drafted and I went to boot camp and they sent me to Yeoman school and I ended up in San Francisco, and on August 28th, I was assigned to my ship. Now, this is interesting. The first stop we made was Dutch New Guinea. I'm on the beach there and looking at the ocean. I said, oh, look at me now. Look where I came from. I could only go 20 blocks. Here I'm miles around me. That was quite an experience for a
Wow.
young fellow.
Now, your father, my grandfather, was in the cavalry in
Yeah.
Poland.
Yes, he was in the Polish army, and he had his own horse. 5 years he spent in the Polish army in the cavalry.
Right. And,
Wow.
and
Wow.
your family emigrated, your parents and two older sisters emigrated to the United States. That is the same year that the Titanic sank.
That's
The
right.
Titanic sank in April of 1912. Your family left Europe August, arrived in New York in September on the SS Lapland, and that is the same steamship that brought surviving crew members of the Titanic back to England.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Some crazy.
Wow. That really is an amazing history right there. Thank you so much for sharing that, Doug. Wow, the Titanic.
And who is growing up in your neighborhood, all of your contemporaries, who was the very famous professional athlete who was maybe about 10, 11 years ahead of you, went to your high school? Who was that great athlete everybody wanted to be?
I was listening to the football game.
The baseball player,
Oh,
Hank Greenberg.
oh, Hank Greenberg. He was a number of years ahead of me in school, and he would fungo balls out in the field, and half the school ended up running the field, trying to catch one of his balls.
That's awesome.
Grew up in your neighborhood.
That's right.
Wow.
Cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just thinking about, growing up in New York at that time and the baseball that was being played around that time, it's just incredible. Did you get an opportunity to see any baseball games or at Yankee Stadium?
No, I did see it in Yankee Stadium. Yes, they invited me a number of years ago, and they honored me at the stadium.
But you could see, you went to the Polo Grounds in northern Manhattan. You were a Giants fan.
That's right.
Yeah, football, baseball.
Baseball and football.
Right.
And Giants.
Did you get to see the 28 Yankees?
He would have been 2 years old.
I know, but you might have gone. Maybe Daddy brought him.
His dad was a New York Giants football and baseball fan, and Mom, whose family was from Brooklyn, were Dodgers fans. However, Brooklyn Dodgers, but Mom's dad and grandfather was the only Giants fan. Legend has it that that's how he liked you.
He finally got somebody who was a Giants fan.
Yeah. I love that.
That's awesome.
So, Arthur, you've been with us a few times on programs.
Yes.
Just share a little bit about what those programs, meant to you to go back. 'Cause I know you went back, this past December, back to actually last year for the 80th anniversary of Pearl Harbor. Can you talk a little bit about that trip that you made?
Sort of saddened about the students coming out of high school. They know so little of what happened. They know about the war in Europe, but they know nothing really about what was going on in the Pacific. We had tens of thousands of sailors and Marines all over the place.
And how about the experience we had in December of 2001 when we were aboard with Best Defense Foundation for the 80th anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor, when we attended the ceremony for the 80th ceremony. We visited the Marine Corps base. We visited Schofield, etc. What was that like for you? Because you were on numerous occasions, you transited through Pearl Harbor during the war.
I was there about 5 times, Pearl Harbor, and we had the Navy Secretary join us, right?
We met the Navy Secretary, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
he was over at, in Pearl Harbor.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What was the highlight of the 80th anniversary in Pearl Harbor? You know, out of all the things that we did, what was the highlight for you?
I know you love the parade.
Oh, the parade was great. They gave me a stack of tickets
Cards.
with my bio there. I
Yeah.
was going down and giving them a selected individual.
Like,
Terrific. And then they had music. We were sitting on the stage. In fact, and your wife was sitting right in front of me.
Yeah.
And starting of the parade.
He made
Yep.
me take him down the day after we flew from Dallas to Hawaii, Honolulu, and our hotel was across from the beach. You had me take it down to the beach. You wanted to get some of those surfer dude photos.
Oh, yes.
I think we have that photo. I think we have that photo. Austin, I'll send it to you. That was a
Send it to
great
me.
photo. I love it
Yeah.
because Mr. Grabiner was hanging 10, as I remember, right? As I recall, he was hanging 10.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so we have a lot of people in the waiting room that were anxious to meet you. So we'll have a little bit of a delay here. So we'll announce that first 4 people to come in. We have Jonathan Manahan, Nathan, Patrick, and Rock. So those 4 guys, be ready. We'll start with Jonathan here and very soon, but just be ready on Zoom and make sure you have your YouTube channel muted when you come in on Zoom so we don't get the crazy echo effect. But yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of people waiting, so people are excited.
Got a lot of people that are waiting to talk to you, Arthur.
You
Yes,
excited, Arthur?
I appreciate it.
Yeah, and don't be surprised if you get some people calling in from different countries. You know, obviously you're American veteran, but you'd be surprised at the impact what you and your brothers and sisters did during World War II, the greatest generation. I mean, it just reverberates everywhere and around the world. So I'm excited.
Yep.
So let's bring them on.
All right, let's start off with Jonathan. Let's bring him in. Hopefully they heed directions well.
All right.
Can you hear us, Jonathan?
There he
Yes,
is.
I do. I can hear you very good.
All right, perfect. Well, you are live with Mr. Arthur Grabiner. Go ahead and introduce yourself, tell you how old you are, where you're from.
Good. Thank you. I'm Jonathan. I'm right here in Washington State on the West Coast. I'm 22 years old, gonna be 23 in about half a year from now. So, and yeah, that's just me.
Right on. Cool.
So
Well,
real
you have a
quick
question
so
for Mr.
a real
Grabiner?
quick question before you start, Jonathan. You know, I'm just curious, like what prompted you to get involved in the history of World War II and the greatest generation? Is it something that you learned in school, or is it something that I mean, what is it for you to pique your interest?
I think it was just number one, personal history. My grandfather was in the Navy during World War II. He escaped from the Philippines from Japanese rule and joined up with the Navy. So there's some personal history as well. And the second reason is just my fascination with things that have happened in our time before, either what's currently going on right now, what's been going on before, like whether it be 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, whichever. It's just a fascination with history in general. And I think this particular era is a great time to learn about.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah,
Pretty cool.
and that's a great answer. And why do you think it's important for your generation to remember this moving forward?
Well, it's mainly, it may not have been ideally the most perfect time. I mean, each time of era of history is different. Might not be for some people, but regardless, it's just mainly to learn that it is what it was at that time. You know, to learn from not just mistakes that were made, but also learn the great accomplishments that were made. You know, because I firmly think that era was our greatest generation. And I think the generations coming forward, they are capable of being a great generation for years to come. That's my optimism for the future.
Love it.
I love it. Yeah, well done. I mean, it certainly set the foundation for all the generations coming after, for sure. Well, here you are. Here's your opportunity. You have it. The floor is yours. You have World War II Navy a veteran, Arthur Grabiner, right there. Go ahead.
Right. Thank you. So, Mr. Arthur, I was wondering, what was it like being a new sailor? You're training and you get sent to the ship, and you're with much more experienced sailors. You're learning the ropes of what's being a sailor. What was it like being new at your job?
Oh, I went to college and then I started out at.
What was it like at being a new sailor and interacting with sailors?
Being the new guy.
Let me tell you something. The U.S. Navy told me when to go to sleep, when to wake up, what to eat, what to dress, when to go for physicals, etc. They had everything covered, and I just had to fall in line and march till I met their qualifications.
And so what about then in terms of the ship you were assigned? What was it like on that ship?
I was on an attack transport ship. We had 24 landing craft that took troops in for invasions. Let me give you a little story about one day in the Navy. We were in the second day for the invasion of Okinawa. We go on a zigzag formation. In case anybody wants to do anything, they would miss us, etc. One ship got out of order, and it was on our left, and it opened up a third line. And well, out of the sky comes a kamikaze plane and hits that ship. Watching me was the executive officer of my ship. Immediately started screaming, "Make smoke, make smoke!" And the engine room billowed up smoke and covered up. We're still in zigzag formation task. We are lucky that we didn't hit anybody. We had an excellent radar man, and he kept us safe.
Oh, wow.
And that day continued. We got orders. Everybody were aware of their dress white uniforms and report on deck at 4:45 p.m. Every ship received the same order. Well, we're there, we're sitting at ease, and all of a sudden, the trumpet players started to play taps, beginning of Navy
Burial.
Navy burial. And we stood there at attention when they started to bury the dead.
Oh, wow.
Same thing went on 20 ships there. This was the largest funeral in my life that I ever attended.
Wow.
And this was April 2nd, 1945, sunset,
That's correct. That's correct.
one day after Easter.
That's right. And
Now, was that on the USS Lawrence?
Correct.
So we got a picture of that right there. That was your ship?
That's the ship. And I was on the port side discharging my troops on the other side into the landing craft.
Wow.
We carried 1,500 troops. That's a lot of troops. Now, another thing, we're carrying these troops. Let me go. The war is over. And we were assigned to go to Pearl Harbor and pick up troops for the occupation of Japan. Well, we picked up 1,500 troops. 500 were native Hawaiians. They were of Japanese ancestry. We took them up, we took them into our country's interpreters. These small things stuck in my head for years and years, and I couldn't express it to anybody.
Dang. Wow.
Yeah, what prompted you to start talking about it? Like, was there a special moment? Was it being around other, being around your brother, going back? Like,
I was invited to go to Hawaii on the 80th, and it opened up things for me. And then I started, my son got me engagement in public school, and I started to go to public school and lecture students all about my life in the Navy, not the Navy's life, my life as an individual, what touched me and how happy I am. I was asked one time, what is the greatest president of the United States? And I said, well, FDR, naturally. Well, no. Harry S. Truman, he authorized the 2 atomic bombings. I wouldn't be sitting here if he didn't do that. The war would end and would never have ended. What was happening in Okinawa, just a small thing, what would have happened in Japan.
Yeah.
I am lucky he was my president.
interesting.
Yeah. And that was a bold move, but it had to happen. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Jonathan, do you have another question?
Just one more. Did you get to know any World War I veterans throughout your life?
Did you meet any World War I vets?
No, I never did.
Interesting.
Jonathan asked a question about the interaction with other sailors, but what was you while on the ship thousands of miles from home, you met a friend of yours from the neighborhood. You remember?
One day ago, we had troops. We were taking one place to another place. I go out on top deck and I bump into a guy. He turns around and looks at me, and I look at him. He lives across the street from me. Oh, I adopted him for 2 weeks. I took him to eat with the Navy. I took him to go to upper deck to watch the movie. I took him to sit in my office. Oh, I couldn't do enough for him. 2 weeks later, he was on his way. I got home. I never met him again. His parents moved.
So, but what happened? You learned, was it by a letter or after the war? His mother found out and told, and what did she do?
But everything. Well, you couldn't write too much in there. Everything, all your mail was censored. He wrote to his mother what I did for him. My father had a little grocery store, and she was a customer, and she came in with the letter tearfully, thanking them for everything I did for their son.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's so cool. Well, Jonathan, thank you so much for coming on.
Talking about young people knowing something. The Navy used the Western Union. If they had a casualty, the Western Union was in a tan uniform on a bicycle. If you saw the Western Union on your block, you know there was trouble. It was bringing a message that the next of kin was killed.
Wow.
And it stood with me. Oh, every time, because most of the time, use Western Union, somebody got married and sent them congratulations on a day or birthday by Western Union. But here I saw one of the actual Western Union telegrams in Jersey,
In Long Island, at a museum.
Long Island, a museum, and there they had their family posted this My eyes started to cry when I read it.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's so sad.
Yeah, it's kind of hard.
Jonathan, thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome, and thank you, Mr. Grabiner, for your service and all that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to us.
Absolutely. All right, Jonathan. Thanks again. Come back next time. Cool, cool.
Right on.
Yeah, love it. All right, so now we're going to bring in Nathan. Pretty sure we know who this is. Let's find out. We have a couple Nathans who come on here. So, yeah, it's our boy from Ireland. Nathan, can you hear us?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Well, you're on with Mr. Art Grabiner. Do your thing. You know what's up.
I haven't done this in a very long time.
How is
Sorry.
your
Pardon?
Just tell me your name, where you're from, and how old you are.
Yeah, I'm Nathan. I'm from Ireland and I'm 14 years old.
14 years old from Ireland.
yes?
He's from Ireland. Arthur, he's from Ireland.
Ireland. He's from Ireland.
Yes.
Nathan,
what
your
city you're
voice has
from, Nathan.
changed.
Tell him what city you're from, Nathan.
Gore. I'm from Gore.
Did you move?
No, it's in Galway. Like this.
Oh, okay.
Ireland stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, he's in Galway, Ireland. You know where that's at, Arthur?
Galway, Ireland. You know, have you ever been to Ireland?
Yes, I was. Yes. Yes.
Ah,
My wife. Yes.
Well,
Very cool.
Nathan is staying up late because it's probably past his bedtime since he's only 14 years old. I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding.
it's the weekend.
But
Weekend.
nah, it's only 6 hours difference. But yeah, Nathan's been a part of these live streams for the last 3 years. We're watching him grow up right in front of us, which is amazing. And he's having a great time meeting veterans like yourself. And Nathan, this is Arthur Grabiner, and the floor is yours.
When you were launching the craft, the troop carriers, what was going through your mind at the time?
When you were launching the Higgins boats, what was happening? Can you describe what was happening, what you were thinking?
I stood there with a flag and I waved in the boat tied up down below me. And I got orders from below that they were ready to take the troops. I told the officer in charge, you can now start loading your boat. Now they go out, and it's not that easy. We were pretty far out, or maybe a mile out at sea, and the water's rough. Now, what happens when you reach the beach? You reach a rough area full of coral. You cannot drop to any cliff or down to go. They have to walk from back further into the beach, carrying their rifle overhead and water up to the belly button. And that's what was natural and normal. They got to the beach all soaked, but the rifle was dry and the ammunition was dry.
Wow. That's wild.
Wow. Yeah, were they so the ammo was dry. So where did they place the ammo? Above their heads as well?
Where was the ammo? Where do you hold the ammo?
In the backpack.
Okay, so it was above their waist. I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. A mile out to shore, and it was water was moving and treacherous. Did you ever get seasick at all? Because I know when I look at water, I get seasick. Did you guys get seasick?
I got seasick one day. We're reaching the equator and they gave us salt pills. I just took the full pill and swallowed it, and I got upset. The next day, I banged the pillow into a small powder, and I was able to do that. It's the only seasickness I ever had my whole time on that ship.
Wow. Wow.
I get seasick just being in the ocean, just like on the shore.
Hey, so do I.
I don't do
Trust
well.
Yeah, I don't do well either. Yeah.
Nope, I don't think there's any cruise boats in my future.
Yeah. You have any other questions, Nathan?
No, I don't.
Well,
All right.
Nathan, let's ask you a couple of questions, Nathan. So why is it, I mean, tell us here that we're all watching and listening. I mean, you're in Ireland. What's your connection with World War II veterans from America, and what's kind of piqued your interest to follow and to study and to learn about the history?
I don't really know what it was. I just know that I had a cousin that fought in the war. That's all I really know about it.
Yeah. And what's exciting for like what's keeping your interest going? I mean, is it just hearing the different stories? I mean, do you watch movies and read books? I mean, what are the things you do to learn about the history?
The stories and stuff. The story.
Nice.
Yeah, I know you brought
First-hand information.
Yeah, there's nothing quite like getting the stories from the guys themselves.
Yeah, I mean, really, I mean, you're hearing it from where history was made, from the men and women that created the history. It's not from a book. This is actually first eyewitness information, that we're all privy to. You can ask them directly and hear from the men who created the history, which is pretty amazing. I mean, thank you for keeping going all the way in Ireland. I know you brought your brother on a few times. How's your brother?
He's good.
He's good. Is he still
Yeah.
following the history and learning about World War II history?
I haven't a clue, to be honest with you.
Well, you better get him going because we're all counting on you to keep the history going, to remember the history and be that beacon out there. That's piquing the interest of other people as well and getting them on board as well.
Yeah.
We're counting on you. I know Arthur right here is counting on you. Are you counting on him, Arthur?
Counting on Nathan to tell your story?
Yes, certainly. You have to carry it on to your fellow students. Let them know what we had out there, what we fought for.
Dad, how many, at least with respect to the United States, how many Americans served in the military and how many are left?
During the World War II, approximately 16 million men and women were in the military. Of that, 400,000 Americans were killed, 600,000 were wounded, and the rest of us are lucky we have stories that we could send on to the rest of the world.
And how many Americans who served in the military during World War II are still alive?
Very few. It's down, I don't
1%.
know if they have 100,000 of World War II veterans, U.S. World War II veterans still alive.
Wow.
Mm.
Yeah, it's
So when you guys are gone, you're going to have guys like Nathan out there sharing and telling your story, amongst other kids. And that's why it's so important that the same reason why you go to all the schools. You're telling your story, right? We're keeping it going because this is the generation that's going to continue your legacy and keeping it going. So Nathan, I'm telling you, we're counting on you. All right.
Yeah.
We're counting on you to learn more, hear the stories, and inspire others to never forget. Okay.
Okay.
Don't let him down.
That's right, buddy.
There. He did.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
he did his job. He did his job. Now it's up to you and all of us to continue doing our job. All right.
straight up.
Well, good
All right,
seeing you,
Dave.
bud.
Always good to
Right.
see you.
See,
All
Bye-bye.
right. Bye-bye.
bye.
I love it. All right.
Well, there's all the way from Ireland, which is pretty special. Learning about your history, learning about our history. I mean, we're all in this together with the Allies, and it's pretty amazing to have a 14-year-old kid from halfway across the world, interested. He could be out playing video games right now, but no, he has it on his calendar to be here to talk directly to you. And it's pretty inspiring. Yeah, it's pretty special.
Cool. Now we got Patrick from the Philippines.
Oh.
Yeah.
Patrick.
Someone from the Philippines coming on. We haven't seen Patrick in a while.
More than Luzon.
Hopefully he's still coming on. Oh, there it is.
Patrick.
He's connecting. Patrick, can you hear us?
Hello, hello.
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 I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Oh, wait. Well, I can. Wait. Where's my
Yeah.
Hey, what's up,
There you
guys? Long
are.
time no see.
There you are.
Wow.
Welcome back. We're back.
Yeah.
We're back. We're back. We're back.
Nice.
Been a while done. Nice.
It has been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, guys, how is doing
Hi,
right now?
How are you? I made many trips to Philippines. We were in an invasion in Lion Gulf
Go.
in northern Luzon. MacArthur wanted to come down into the Philippines that way and starve out the Japanese. And we were there. We brought troops in to the Philippines. We encountered a couple of kamikazes that hit the ship, our lead ship, and many were killed. Other than that, we would have take troops back and forth in the Philippines. And if we had a lull in the thing, we would get a landing craft and take 20 of us into the beach in the Philippines. Now, this was a very historic trip. You got two bottles of beer and a bottle of Coke. And this is what you had to enjoy your day out on the Philippine Islands. This must have happened to me around 5 times.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. That's cool. Hey, Patrick, how far are you away from Luzon?
I'm from Manila, actually.
Yeah, I said, how far is that?
I think it's just 3 hours trip from here to Lingayan Gulf.
Oh, 3 hours.
Yeah,
Now,
just
3 hours from Lingayan Gulf.
Well, cool. Patrick, introduce yourself to Mr. Grabiner here and then ask any questions you got.
Hello, Mr. Grabiner. I'm Patrick. I'm 25, going 26 in February 3, and I'm from Manila, Philippines.
Manila?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you been to Manila before, Arthur?
Yeah.
Yes. We never went to Manila. We went to the outskirts of the outer islands, but physically, I never went to Manila.
Right. What's your question, Patrick?
What was your thought that or what is running on your mind that you will invade the Lingayan Gulf?
What were the thoughts about with the Philippines? You had a kamikaze attack on this island there.
Yes. Well, they spoke English, and we could communicate with them. The few that we were permitted to speak to, and they played basketball, etc. And where we went was small communities. You got to on a beach, the chickens were running around and everything. And these people were really out of the loop. They didn't know what was going on in the world. Later on, I met Philippine women and men, and they were so gracious to the Americans for what they did Finally, the Philippines got their independence, and I'm so happy for them.
That's great. What's the history taught in the Philippines like, Patrick? Do you guys in school, do you guys focus on World War II stuff much?
Well, mostly the topics here in World War II was just like about Okinawa, Iwo Jima, and mostly the invasion here in the Philippines. And well, they don't talk about the Guadalcanal invasion, the Marshall Islands. That's why when I was in third year high school, when the topics about World War II, I just starting talking to them about this is not just about the Pacific campaign. We will talk about here about the Philippines Liberation campaign here that happened here, and especially here in Manila when they burned the Manila, when the Allies now is come here.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you
Because
have
I
any
want-
relatives, Patrick, that served in the Philippines and worked together with the Americans during the war?
Not really, but I have a grandfather who lived during World War II here.
Cool.
Yeah.
You get to talk to them and hear about some of the stories?
Not really, because when I was raised, my grandfather is already,
Passed away?
already dead. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay,
When I was-
okay. Yeah, because a lot of stories that I've heard from the Americans, definitely in the Philippines, is that the Filipinos were amazing scouts and trackers and worked together and was able to really help, liberate that area during that time. And they always talk about no one's tougher than the Filipinos. I mean,
The fighting
seriously.
Filipinos.
yeah, super tough, and you never know they're coming. They'll just be right there. It's pretty special. It's pretty crazy. So you have another question?
Yeah. One last question about Mr. Grabiner.
One question.
How do you think of the Filipino people?
What do you
like-
think of the Philippine people?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought they were great. Look, half the nurses in the United States at one time came from the Philippines.
Mhm.
They were great. The people, you could converse with them. They were intelligent, and they were thankful for what we did for them.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's
Patrick's a
good.
nice guy too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
hey
it's good.
guys, I wish you can come here so you can see the memorial of MacArthur landing in Lingayan.
Someday,
We
hopefully.
still have there. Yeah.
Donnie's not too far from you right now. He's probably closer than he's ever been. He's over in India. So you guys are only a couple time zones apart right now.
Well,
Yeah.
guys, good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you again. I had a
too.
couple more questions for you, Patrick.
Yeah.
Talking about the history, right? So what prompted you to want to learn about this, this history? And why is it important for you and your generation to continue the stories that you're hearing live, like Arthur Grabiner's story?
Yeah. Well, before I answer that, before I started to learn like history when I think that was when I was play a video game named Medal of Honor that
Yeah.
was in PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
It's my first time that I don't know what happened there, and then I'm starting to use internet. Oh, so this is what happened here, and then I'm starting to search some campaign about the Pacific, Europe, and Antarctic campaign. But mostly I focus here in Asia, and mostly sometimes sometimes I used to be in Europe topic too, but mostly I really focus here in in Pacific campaign.
Yeah.
And until now, I'm still searching about some I don't know what, because there's some battles in World War II that I still don't know, and I want to know what happened there, like the especially the what was that campaign? Oh yeah, the final position of the Japanese here before our country was liberated.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think you know that there's a Japanese soldier here who were not surrendered until 1974, I think. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
We got into World War II and the same thing, just playing video games that did a really good job at telling the story and got me interested.
Yeah, I think it got a lot of people in the last generation like interested. It was like, wait a minute, Grandpa, you did what now? You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, wow, I saw that in Medal of Honor or Call of Duty. All of a sudden we became interested. So we started learning, started reading, we started watching movies, and we just started learning more and wanting to know more. And here we are now. I mean, you're halfway around the world, talking to Mr. Grabiner, who served during World War II in the Pacific, the invasion of Okinawa. The invasion of Okinawa. And he just shared his story about April 2nd. And it's pretty special. So we really appreciate you coming on and asking questions and be part of the fabric of keeping history alive all the way from the Philippines. Yeah, which is special. Do you have a page that you run on Instagram or TikTok or anything about about the Pacific War in that area, Philippines?
Actually, I don't have any Facebook page, but I love to share the history here in the Philippines of World War II. And just like my cousin starting to talk to me, well, what happened here?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it'd be a great challenge for you to maybe on TikTok or Instagram or one of the social media channels to start a page, talking about the history of World War II in the Philippines. Because there's a lot of people that don't really know much, but if you start to put the history, grab some pictures, and start, create something, it'll be a great resource for so many people to learn more about that history there. We're counting on you, and I know Mr. Grabiner is counting on you as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, sure.
I think I'm gonna revisit again the Manila American Cemetery here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna visit.
Well, you have any last words for Mr. Grabiner before you go?
Yeah, Mr. Grabiner, thank you for your service and what have you done here in the Philippines. And because of you, I will not here today talking with you, and the best nation.
Thank you
so
very
much.
much.
Yeah.
I appreciate everything you say.
Austin,
Yes.
I had just sent an email to you, a letter that Dad wrote back home after invasion in the Philippines. I don't know if you're able to share that. I had sent it previously, but I just sent it again.
Let me see.
Patrick might be interested in why Dad could not have mentioned the kamikaze attack on his sister ship.
Let's see. World. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, you're able to bring it up.
Let me see if I can pull it up.
This is the letter you wrote home in March of 45.
Let's see here. Opening up a PDF. See if I can share it here. There we go.
Okay. There's a letter.
All right, who's gonna read it? Doug, you want to read it?
Sure. So this is the reason it says San Francisco is that's where your mail would be delivered to you. So this is Friday, March 23rd in 1945. Less than 2 months earlier in January, your task force was attacked by the kamikaze suicide aircraft at the Philippines. So this is a letter you wrote to your parents back home in the Bronx. Dear folks, time sure flies. On the 26th of this month, it will be 5 months since we left the States. These 5 months sure have passed very fast. I am getting along fine and hope that everything at home is getting along likewise. Nothing new has occurred lately that is of any importance, except, of course, for the kamikaze attack, which killed numerous sailors on this island, others missing, presumed dead, numerous others wounded. In this letter, I am enclosing a bill from Dutch New Guinea. I got it at Wake Island in Dutch New Guinea. We were there about 2 months ago. You can add this to the collection of the Japanese money used in the Philippine Islands, which I sent you a while back. Don't let Papa retire on that Japanese money. He won't get too far. I guess this will be all for the present. Give my regards to all at home. Yours truly, Arthur Grabiner, Y3C, C Division. Now, you
That's
make it
awesome.
seem like you were on a pleasure cruise. Why could you not discuss the kamikaze attack?
All our mail was censored. And wives start to censor, and I get shreds of mail. So I did the cool and fast, which they wanted us to do, and I was happy to let them know I'm alive.
Mm, mm, mm.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing all the censorship that was going on, and you're
Yeah.
thinking about that. When you're writing the letter, right? You want to share, you want to talk about it, but like it's never going to get through. So, I mean, do you just try, or you just kind of just let them know, like, hey, I'm still here,
Yeah.
Kind
That's
And then it
wild.
took a long time too. I mean, think about it. We don't have this instant, instant messages and all this kind of stuff now that that we have today. I mean, we take it for granted. I mean, you write a letter, you know what happened, like some big attack happened, and it takes months to finally get an answer to see if you're still
Yeah.
alive.
Doug just sent me that email a second ago, and boom, here we are live with it.
Yeah. And how long did that letter take for you to get over to your parents, Arthur, from when you wrote it?
Must have been a month or so.
Yeah.
A month. A month. A month. And Doug, you just sent that letter in 2 seconds.
2 seconds, I sent it across thousands of miles across the United States.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
great.
but that's all part of it though, right? Because of the men and women before us, right? That's how we're able to do this now. And think about that, before your dad, before you, Arthur. Think about World War I, think about the Civil War, think about the wars before, it took even longer. They didn't even have mail service. So we're all taking it in stride of where we are, but we never forget the foundation, the fabric of the men and women that served before us.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, cool. Patrick, good to see you again.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll see you soon.
Sure. I will love to join again.
All right, cool.
Absolutely.
All right. We'll
Coming
be
up.
doing this every 2 weeks. So
Yeah.
come on
Get
back.
ready.
All
Get
right.
ready.
Bye, buddy.
Bye.
That's awesome. We haven't seen him in so long. That's cool. All right. Well, let's keep on moving. Let's bring on Rock.
All right.
Bring on Rock. Now, somebody in the chat asked, Arthur, were you a part of Operation Magic Carpet Ride?
Operation Magic Carpet Ride. That would have been returning home.
No.
So
We
you-
were involved in bringing the troops back.
Okay. Cool, cool.
Magic Carpet Ride. Can you give us a little background on that?
Well, the war was over, and you had to get troops moving back to the States. And we would fill up 1,500 troops, take them to the States, and then go out to get another 1,500. There were millions out there. It takes a while to bring them all back.
Oh, and so they called that Operation Magic Carpet Ride, huh?
That's
Yeah.
right.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Cool.
Right on. How's it going, bud?
Hi, I'm good. How about you?
Good. You are on with Mr. Arthur Grabiner. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell them where you're from and how old you are.
Hi, I'm Emil. I'm 19 and I'm from Arlington, but I'm in Blacksburg right now.
Cool.
It says The Rock. Rock, it says.
It says Rock.
Yeah, no, it's just
Yeah.
like that. I tried to fix it, but it's just
Every
it
time
just
I see
sticks.
Rock, I'm like, I know who this is, but
I'm going to tell everybody that Dad was chatting with The Rock.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
I like it.
you should.
I like it. I like it. So, Rock, how you doing, buddy? Thanks for joining the live stream with Arthur Grabiner and a World War II veteran of this week. Give us a little background about yourself. Do you have family members that served in World War II in the military? What prompted your interest to learn more about military history?
So none of my like immediate family served. I think like some like great uncles or something, but my grandpa served like right after the Korean War, and I would just like talk to him. He like grew up during World War II, so it was like interesting to hear about his stories like back in America, like what was going on there. And then like I think I got interested in it. I was just like talking like with some friends, debating like about the atomic bomb, and then it just like caused me to just like research more into World War II, and it was just really interesting because I think they leave a lot of stuff out like in school when they are teaching it.
So speaking about school, so obviously in Virginia, they are teaching about World War II and military history.
Yeah, they teach a little bit about it. I'd say we do like 3 weeks on it.
Have you felt learned more outside of school?
Yeah, I just like research like by myself now. Just like go on research pages and Wikipedia and stuff like that.
Nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of great resources out there today. I mean, whatever you want to find out and learn about, I mean, it's pretty much there, especially on the military channel and history channel. There's so many documentaries and stuff like that to learn, to see, and to fill your your library up with information, for yourself to understand, what happened. You ever get a chance to speak with a World War II veteran before?
Yeah, I was on the previous 2 live streams.
Yeah, he's been on with us before several times.
Wonderful.
In person, have you ever met one in person?
No, I haven't had the chance. I want to though.
Yeah, they're a sprightly young bunch.
Well, there's going to be opportunities. I'll tell you right now, the Best Defense Foundation is going to be opportunities for our next gen to have the chance to do just that, but back where history was created. So we'll talk about that at a later time, but just throwing it out there to all you guys watching right now. It's coming. So some great exciting things coming for 2023 and 2024 that we'll discuss later.
You're just throwing little nuggets of
nuggets. Nuggets. But it's
some nuggets. I'm like, are we talking about this right now? All right.
No, we're not. Just little nuggets. There'll be some opportunities. There'll be some great opportunities.
Some interest. Opportunities coming.
Yeah, no, it's going to be great. I mean, it's all about the next generation, getting educated to make sure that that we keep pushing forward. So we learn from the past and keeping legacy like Mr. Grabiner's alive. So with that being said, Rock, go ahead. You have the floor. You have Mr. Grabiner.
Oh, hi. So my question is, what was it like? What was your feelings like when the war ended, and how was it returning home?
What about the war ending and returning home?
Well, I was elated. I was alive, and all of my crew, we were alive. We didn't have any casualties. And now we're going to go home, and I have a new life in front of me.
May I ask that, following up Emil's question, what was the welcome home the United States Navy gave to you when you arrived? You brought the ship back home through the Panama Canal.
That's correct.
To the Norfolk Naval Base in Virginia. Dad was in Virginia twice. He can discuss that. And you came back home on a train to New York. What did the Navy do?
The Navy sent me up to the Brooklyn Navy Yard, and then they sent me out to Long Island to work the paperwork out and be discharged. They gave me 2 passes to go on the Long Island Railroad from where I was to Manhattan, and they gave me a nickel to go on the subway from Penn Station up to the Bronx where I live. That's how the Navy dispersed me.
So the Navy's thank you to you was, here's train fare.
Well, let's not be so critical.
All right.
The VA is an excellent source for me personally. I get all my medications. I get different physical examinations. I get wheelchairs. Oh, the VA is a wonderful source. The U.S. government has not forgotten us.
So if you would be kind enough
That's good.
to also answer this question about after the war was over. You're from Virginia?
Yeah, Arlington.
you brought the ship back home from the Panama Canal to the Norfolk Naval Base. The war was over. You were feeling good. What happened at the Norfolk Naval Base with you and that other fellow in the Jeep?
It was the end, and this other gentleman, we were yeoman. We had access to everything on that ship. Ship had a Jeep. It was sitting in the pier, and he says he could drive. Let's go and take a drive around the base.
Joyride.
Yes. Oh, but he goes there, starts up the car. He gets to the end of the pier. Boom!
The hood.
What do you call
The
it?
hood.
The hood opened up. He and I looked at each other and said, "That was a warning. Take the Jeep back and call it a night."
Did either of you know how to drive?
Yes, he knew how to drive. I didn't know how to drive, but that thing, hood opening up, banged a lot of sense into our head. Because we could have been court-martialed, taken off base.
After the war was over.
Yes.
I love hearing all the around stories.
Yeah, well, I have news for you that I have this letter right here that the Army, the military, they want their money back for that blown up Jeep hood. Has your name on it. No.
So now that's an interesting thing. Like, so you got, the war was over and you got back, but you didn't have a driver's license? Like, you didn't know how to drive?
You didn't know how to drive.
I learned how to drive a few years later. And,
What was the common age to get a driver's license back then?
20. How old do you have to be then to have a driver's license?
Oh.
21?
21.
20.
Really?
Wow, 21.
I got my driver's license when I was 14.
Wow. Austin, I just also emailed to you from February of 1944, Dad's notice of induction. If you can share that, please.
Okay.
You can find that.
Let me pull it up.
Another historical document.
It's Amir, right? Or did I say your name right?
Oh, Emil.
Emil.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Emil.
Emil, if you want to ask another question while I'm pulling this up, go for it.
Yeah, sure. What do you think of Japan today?
Well, do you have any feelings about Japan today?
Well, it's one of our greatest allies and a very industrious nation, and I support them.
Emil, in the 1970s, Dad had season's tickets to the New York Jets, the football team. And he took me to a game in what was Shea Stadium in New York where the Mets played. Who was a guest that day? Emperor Hirohito.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
The same emperor who wanted to kill him was also in the stadium with Dad watching the Jets game.
Wow. That's crazy.
Oh, that's crazy.
What year was that, Doug?
This would have, I was in junior high. This would have been, and it's, if you Google it, you could find it. This was probably in the mid 70s.
Gee.
Somewhere around there. He was at a Jets game in New York.
Really? Wow.
Know that.
Yeah, because I know people had different feelings about that. You know, my grandfather, Maximino, he had some very strong opinions towards the Japanese. You know, he saw a lot in the Army, and, to his dying day, he held on to it for a long time, and I know, talking to some of his other brothers, they felt the same way, but I know other veterans that have felt differently. So it's different for everyone because at the end of the day, everybody sees it through different lenses, and ultimately, it's your opinion and your feeling about it.
Well, Emil, I'll share with you a piece of Japanese history that Dad has in his archives. Well, after this, we'll look at it.
Oh.
So what are we looking at here?
This is from February 15 of 1944. It was dated. And this is
That
Dad's.
was right before Iwo Jima. That was right before the invasion of Iwo Jima.
No, well, Iwo Jima was 45.
Oh, 45.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
45.
I'm sorry. February 1945. You're right. 45. Yep.
This is an order to report for induction the President of the United States to Arthur Grabiner. Greeting. And if you go to the very top again, if you can scroll the other way, Austin, it's stamped Bronx County, that's the Bronx, New York, February 25th, 1944, you were to report to your local draft board. And if you scroll the other way, it tells where you want to report. 7:15 a.m. on the 28th of February, 1910, Arthur Avenue.
Yeah.
And what happened on that day when you went to report? That's when you were you were in the
I
Navy.
was inducted into the Navy, and they gave us the day off and told us to go to Penn Station about 7 o'clock at night to board the train upstate. Well, I was 3 other future vets who went to high school with me. We said, we can't go home. We said our goodbyes. We decided to take a hotel room and relax. Then we went to the movie theater, and the film was The Fighting Sullivans. These are 5 brothers made a deal with the Navy that they would all enjoy the service if they could all serve aboard the same ship. The Navy kept it still and sent them with the ship. Unfortunately, that ship was torpedoed and all 5 brothers died.
Austin, I just emailed a photo to you of them. So these are the 5 Sullivan brothers from Iowa, the USS Juno, a light cruiser, November of 42 torpedo. Some died in the attack. The remaining brothers died subsequently. You were about to go to Navy boot camp, you and 3 friends from the neighborhood, and you went to watch a movie about 5 sailors who were just killed. Weren't you afraid?
No, it built up our esteem. We're going to go out there and take care of them.
Wow.
Wow.
We were felt great seeing this picture. No, we didn't feel sorry at all. The Navy subsequently changed it. No blood relations could be on the same ship.
Wow.
So you were 18. You thought you could meet
That's
the
right.
Japanese by yourself?
Oh, we all felt it. They they built us up that we would do anything for them, for the United States.
Wow. The Sullivan brothers. Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah, that could have gone both ways. I mean, you're watching this movie, you're just like thinking about it, like, and you want to turn around and like, we're going to vindicate them. We're going to take care of business. You owe it to them. And I mean, much respect. I mean, 18 years old to have that conviction at that age.
Yeah,
just
that
amazing.
would just terrify these people and like scare them away. But man, you guys are like, let's go do it for these guys.
So later that night, you boarded the train to boot camp.
That's right.
And when did you arrive at boot camp? The next morning?
The next morning, they gave us a wonderful breakfast. They gave us bologna sandwich on white bread with a glass of milk. That was our first
military meal.
So it definitely wasn't Chick-fil-A.
And you thought in your barracks that
That was on a Sunday. They were closed.
You thought that the Navy was using you and your fellow recruits as guinea pigs. Why? What were they doing to you?
We're under, the
Ultraviolet?
Navy had full access to us. Our barracks had
Ultraviolet?
ultraviolet ray lamps on 24/7. The other barracks, nobody had, but we were the guinea pigs. They told us that we were going to sleep there, and they kept record how many went to sick bay from my barracks versus the other. I wasn't requested for any information to give them permission for that barracks. It was assigned, and I had to live with it.
Yeah.
I just sent to you, Austin, something from boot camp. Dad's boot camp.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh man. Let's see what we got here.
You have another
Wow,
question? Emil. You have a question? Another one while Austin's searching?
I guess kind of related from what you were talking about. Like, were you scared when you got the letter of induction?
Were you frightened when the Navy sent that, when the president's letter came?
Oh, no, I was anxiously waiting for it. I
Oh, wow.
wanted to go into the service, no matter what came. And it arrived the day after I graduated high school.
Wow.
Yeah, because once you sign your name to that, well, look, we bring it back up on the bottom. I mean, it's really like, you know, if you don't report, you're going to jail,
Yeah.
you know?
For
So
sure.
that- This is where you went to Navy boot camp,
That's right.
upstate New York.
Sent to New York.
Wow.
That's cool.
Is it still there today?
No.
Oh.
No, is there anything there?
It used to
Fine.
be,
Mhm.
used to be an Air Force, used to be an Air Force had a facility. It's part of the Finger Lake. What did, when you were in boot camp, the Navy had you simulate a drill, man overboard. What did they make you do?
Well, this goes on in every Navy
Boot camp.
boot camp. It goes on in the U.S. Maritime Marine
Merchant Marine.
complex. You had to jump off, in my case, a 15-foot
Diving board.
diving board, which is 2 stories up, into abandoning ship. Well, it was 1, 2, 3 for me, but there were fellows in the group that could not do it. They would go back every week for 2 months and no soap, and then they made them stand up and they pushed them in. And I had the same story told to me about the boot camp in Chicago and other places. Exactly the same thing. And the Naval Training Station, an officer told me that if they didn't jump off, they would not get their commission.
Wow.
Wow.
That's rad. Well,
See,
cool. Emil. Oh,
All this trivia was buried in me. I'm giving things coming out that I never even thought about that, but it all comes to the surface.
And I love it. I love that, you know,
Right.
I love that we're documenting these stories, because these are the little tidbits of stories that are so special for all of us to hear, you know, the little small stuff, which is about the downward jaw 50 feet, you know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
all this is just wonderful. So I'm really proud of you, Mr. Grabiner, for opening up and finally get to that point in your life to share these stories with all of us.
I
We're
have-
so privy.
One more story to tell you about. This is going invasion in the Lingayan Gulf. Of 550 members of my crew, I was the only one with AB blood, which is a very rare blood. One day we're on our way for the invasion. I get notice to come see the head doctor in sickbay. I go there and he explains to me he would like me to give a pint of my blood, and they would freeze it and only hold it for me because I had the rare blood. I put my hand out and said, "Let's go."
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Emil, you asked about Dad's feelings about the Japanese. I'm going to show something to you. You see
Oh,
this?
wow. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So the Japanese members of the military, it was very common to carry flags of varying sizes on their person in the battle. Many instances, they were signed by members of their family. This is one that Dad has. And this is another
Oh.
that Dad has. These are actual
Wow.
flags that Japanese members of the military would carry.
Wow, that's so
Rising
cool.
star.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So,
What a
so Mr.
heirloom to
Grabiner,
pass
remember
on.
you got the last one, the second one that Doug just showed, the Rising Star. Remember where you got that? Where you were?
Yeah, you remember where you obtained these flags?
One of the islands that we took over after the war.
It was a warehouse?
It was a warehouse.
Oh, wow.
And so we put in sailors in an empty warehouse. It would pilfer a little bit.
It's crazy.
Spoils of war.
That's
Hey,
cool.
yeah,
All right. Well,
that's how-
Emil, thanks for coming by, or should we call you The Rock from now on?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
Rock.
sure. Either.
Let's call him The Rock.
You're the rock.
Yeah. All right. Good to see you. Thanks for coming by. You
Yeah,
guys,
thank you.
anything you want to say to Mr. Grabiner before you leave?
Just thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks for coming by, man.
Thanks. Bye.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
All right. So the next people we got coming up are Matthew, Isaac, Paolo, and Radu. I think I said this. Radu. I always say it wrong, but we'll see. We'll see if we get it right this time. And while we're bringing someone else on, somebody asked on the chat, what was your feeling when you first saw a Japanese plane or ship on the open sea in combat?
First time you saw a Japanese plane or ship in combat.
We were so conditioned to see something like this. They gave it all kind of camouflage, and so they built up our background. And I saw it, and really, I was proud that we were able to destroy it.
But weren't you, I mean, encounters with Japanese submarines were quite frequent. So what would happen, for example, there was the order, the crew would receive an order about...
We picked up 1,500 troops in San Diego for reinforcements in Okinawa. On the way, we were told to secure all portholes, close, put off all lights, etc. All of a sudden, get a bang, bang, 5 bangs. They were dropping depth charges around us. They picked up a alleged submarine there, whether they did or not, but this was some experience. The ship vibrated.
And what about radio? Could you radio message each other sister ships in your task force?
On the Navy, if you're in a problem area, you can't use the radio. We have flag wavers. They wave 2 flags in 28 positions and 10 numbers. And then they would wave their signal to the next ship. There, the guy would write it down and transfer to the party that they had to. That was silent and secret.
And I just sent a photo of that to you, Austin.
Okay.
Wow.
I love learning all this stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
It's so
when you
cool.
think about it, here's flags, at this position here, and it's translating, information.
Yeah.
Amazing. It's crazy.
Oh, I see that. Hold on. Let me put that on the screen there.
And I also just sent to you the lights that they would also communicate. Well, when we bring the picture up, you can explain that.
Here, this
Okay.
flag man, he's the one receiving the message. And then we'll wave. At other times, they use lights that they will put on and off.
You have that photo. So this is an alphabet unto itself.
That's right.
Oh,
2 signalmen, 1 sending, 1 receiving.
And he's using either binoculars or a
Yes,
telescope.
that's it.
Yeah.
very cool. And then this is the one with the lights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ignite.
There are the lights.
So were they using like Morse code with the light?
In a certain way, and he would send out the message. Here he's receiving an answer.
So what is it? Austin asked, is that Morse code
There must be.
Okay.
or in a language unto itself? These are little slits.
Yeah.
And the
'Cause I would
language,
imagine other countries are using Morse code too. They probably had to develop their own form of communication there.
so when you were in hostile waters,
Yeah, you would think that.
you
Yeah.
had to have radio silence.
Radio silence, flags only.
Yeah. They had to come up with their own thing because Morse code would probably been detectable from.
So I guess it's a little bit
countries
like
as well.
baseball. Like everybody has their own signs.
Yeah,
the
like
third coach, the
the
first
different
base coach.
things.
I mean, think about like baseball. Everybody has like different signs, right? I guess. I mean, I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's amazing that just with flags and a light, you can like communicate. It's amazing.
Yeah. All right, let's bring Matthew in. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the different tactics they used during war were just fascinating.
Yeah.
So
Truly.
many different things. Like, I love learning about all that.
Oh, come
You're-
on. Fuck.
You're a wealth of knowledge here, Mr. Grabiner.
Shit, come on. What the hell? What the hell?
Matthew, we can hear you.
Wait,
Hey,
you guys
hey,
can
hey.
hear me?
We can hear you,
Thank you.
Matthew.
Yeah.
Hell.
Language.
Language,
Sorry.
sir.
I don't know what's going on with my. Okay, wait. This is so weird.
Oh, man.
Okay, start video. Is that it? There we go. That
All right,
got
now
it.
we can hear you.
All
Now we
right.
can see you as well. Sorry to all the young children listening. All right, Matthew, you're on with Mr. Arthur Grabiner. Introduce yourself.
Greener. Hi, I am Matthew Aronson. I am 28 years old. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. And I actually
Have you been to Chicago, Arthur?
Have you been to Chicago?
Arthur, have you been to Chicago?
No.
Well, I have a
All the
connection.
places.
Well, I do have a connection in New York City. My brother and his wife actually live right by the Manhattan Bridge in Brooklyn.
Oh, okay. In Dumbo.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Very fashionable.
Mm-hmm.
I love all the different sections of New York. Like, there's just like
Yeah.
different culture around every block.
Dumbo
Yeah.
down under the Manhattan Bridge overpass.
Oh, that's what
Yeah.
it means. I never knew that.
Dumbo means. Yep.
Okay, I know Jay-Z talks
Oh
about
my
it.
gosh. Dumbo under.
Yeah, I just got that. I learned
I
something
just put
new.
that together too.
Before,
Yeah.
before he asks his question, while Matthew was asking the question, please cue up some audio. I just sent a link to you, Austin, and you'll have it ready then. While
Okay.
Dad was previously answering about what happens in hostile waters. So we'll
Okay.
chat with Matthew
Let me see if I can get this audio.
while we're chatting with Matthew.
Want me to start?
Yes.
Go for it.
Sure, go ahead. Yeah, sure, go ahead. You got it.
So, Mr. Grabiner, what was it like? I know at the Battle of Okinawa, they always talk about what was it like seeing them, like just like in any invasion, what was it like seeing all these ships, just these massive amounts of naval ships just docked and ready to assault or land?
The massive amount of armaments and
Yeah,
ships in
we-
Okinawa.
You couldn't imagine how many warships there were bombing all day long, all night. And prior to getting to Okinawa, with sailing, and I was a lookout on the bridge, I pick up something in the water. All over the lieutenant, executive officer, he looks and he sees something. He goes over to the captain. He looks and he finally sees something. And he gets it verified by the man up in the crow's nest, everything. Wow, what have we got here? It's this whole place mined. They sent down for a rifle. We got closer. It was all the spent shells from the battleships and the cruisers there, and that was bobbing in the water. We thought that they were going we would be hit by one of them, but it turned out they were useless at that time.
And Austin, I just sent the map for Okinawa that Dad can show Matthew where he discharged troops at Okinawa.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Doug, for sending that. It's great.
My
I mean,
pleasure.
just adds texture to the stories, you know. I mean, I love visual, especially, you know, when you're teaching and learning about this, to get the visuals and to see it just adds so much substance to it. So thank you so much for sharing that.
If you look at an invasion map, yeah, it's like right here. You'd almost think it's part of like halfway along the island.
So if you look, the southwestern portion, Naha, you see all the American flags.
Yeah.
That's where you,
Yes.
that's where the landing craft discharged the
That's
Marines
correct,
at
Uh-huh.
Naha,
right.
right there at Naha. And
We're
you,
out
No.
at this point, 1 to 2 miles out at sea.
right,
Wow.
at Naha.
So is there a difference, when they drop them off, like you said, 1 or 2 miles? I mean, does it just depend on the tides, or is it pre-planned? I mean, what was the determining factor?
Look, some of the shells that they had wouldn't travel 2 miles. So
Mhm.
we were in safe waters
To launch an
to
invasion.
launch an invasion.
Mm,
Wow.
okay. Wow, interesting.
Now, Doug, what was the audio thing you sent me? I've never,
It
Played
says
it.
file general quarters.
I don't
So
know if I've
Wikipedia.
played an audio file off of here, so I don't know.
So you can click on it. Once you open it, you'll see the arrow to hit it, and it's just It's just audio.
Let me see if I open this, what happens. Is this loud?
I can't hear anything.
You don't hear it yet. You haven't opened it.
Yeah, we don't hear it yet.
Okay. Can you hear that?
No.
Barely.
Okay, let me see if I share it, what it does.
There we go.
Can you hear that?
No. Maybe I can just play it here. I'll just play it. Maybe it'll work.
Yeah, maybe if you just play it, Doug.
I kind of hear it.
Yeah, I can hear it. General quarters, general quarters.
So we just played an example.
That sound is crazy.
General quarters.
That's to go to our battle stations.
And so then when you would be in hostile waters, this is what is the command?
We would have a helmet, a life preserver, and I was talking over the
Intercom?
intercom and giving orders if they had to shoot.
Wow.
I'd imagine at the Battle of Okinawa, well, this kind of might lead into my other question. I imagine at the Battle of Okinawa, that was one of the toughest battles for the Navy, not because there were other naval ships, but because the Japanese aircraft were slamming and bashing into our ships. And
Yes.
the Navy wanted the land battle to be over, but General Buckner was having a hard time pushing inland and he needed more troops. And the Navy just kept losing ships, and it got the nickname the fleet that I believe, I can't remember what it was called. It was the fleet that never left or just always stayed. I just can't quite remember the name.
Well, it was also known that it was the typhoon of steel at Okinawa, just the massive amounts of armaments, ships, planes, etc. Could you talk a little bit more about, you spoke about the kamikaze attack there, that was on the Tyrell.
Yeah.
Why did you go in that serpentine zigzag formation in your task force?
If they shot something, you may have moved over to the right or to the left. It wasn't a good target doing that. And the ships would zigzag, and I was taken to somebody high up in the command, and they're still using that today and teaching the troops to use the zigzag formation.
And what time this? It was what, about just before 6 in the morning, and you were on the bridge of your ship?
That's right. It was about 5:45. The sun was coming up, and there was a little cloud there, and boom! Out of that cloud came a kamikaze to the ship that was way out of order and hit it.
Oh my.
I can kind of hear it.
Yeah.
A little better.
Yeah, that's crazy sound.
I know. I'm just sure that sound there, I mean, I'm sure it brings back a feeling for you. Am I correct,
Yeah.
Arthur?
Get a rush?
Oh, yes, yes. Yeah, you know.
Game time.
You're another part of the ship, and all of a sudden you have to get all your gear and get up there and be part of the combat group.
I just sent to you, Austin, an email, the burial at sea, the photograph that you could share with Matthew. Dad was discussing a little earlier. I was, I think it may have been with Patrick.
Okay.
No, actually with Jonathan, I believe.
Hmm.
This is an example. There you go.
There you go.
Hmm.
There they are with the American flag, seeing over the weighted canvas bags. They slide that under the flags and they go down to the bottom of the ocean.
And it's weighted, obviously,
It's weighted canvas bags.
so the bodies don't come up to the
Family
surface.
has no party to they can't go to a cemetery, they can't go to anything. They're all on the bottom of the ship. See.
Wow.
Oh,
And
wow.
you were witness to this. Like you saw this happen.
Wow.
Yes.
April 2nd, 1945 at sunset.
Wow. And how many did you say?
Well, pardon me?
No, I know that was your
Standing
biggest.
at attention. When this was going on, we were standing at attention.
How many sailors on the 2nd of April?
Well, I mean, that would have just been one of the numerous occasions there would have been burial at sea, because this was the largest concentration of Navy losses since Pearl Harbor at Okinawa.
Correct.
It was also large. It was also the largest amphibious
Yes.
fleet. Like people think Normandy was large. No, Okinawa was the largest.
And I just, Austin.
Do you know how many ships, Matthew? You know how many ships were involved in that?
I don't know. I don't know the exact. I can't remember the exact numbers.
Just sent you a photo of a kamikaze pilot
Okay.
with the flags you see that Dad has.
So what is the one that your dad has? Is that a headband like this guy has?
Well, it's like it, but obviously it's not from somebody who was killed.
Yeah.
You know, don't need to make mock it, but obviously that would have been underwater. It would have been somebody else
Yeah,
who was on
yeah.
land, and
There's the
so
pilot
that's
getting prepared to on the ship. There's the flag,
Wow.
and we have another pilot with the other flag.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
I can only imagine what it was like hearing the 20 millimeters, the 40 millimeters, just all the anti-aircraft fire just going off all at once, just to try to stop these things from just slamming into your ship.
sound about there was this chorus of when they were shelling the islands. You could hear.
Oh, yeah. It's continuous. Now, at times, we're just 2 miles away, so we don't hear anything. But we get closer. It's a barrage.
It amazes me that half these guys can still hear.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say right now. It's amazing that you guys can still hear.
Talk to the artillery guys, I'll tell you.
I'll tell you when one couple of years ago when you had to go to a ear, nose, and throat doctor, was about like many of your generation would wear hearing aids, and he asked, you were in the Navy, right? Were you beside a big gun? They asked you. Yeah.
And I've been to just ceremonies and left deaf. Like just they shoot off those small cannons and do like the gun salutes. Like, man.
Because Okinawa was in effect a dress rehearsal to the invasion of the home islands.
That's correct.
Now,
That went on for months.
So that's went on from April until June, and the atomic bombs were dropped soon thereafter. Would you share with Matthew, what were you doing when the United States dropped the first atomic bomb? You were out at sea. What was going on?
We were out at sea. I was doing my clerical
You were
things.
rehearsing.
We rehearsing
An invasion.
an invasion on an outer island. And then the radio man picked up signal, and before you know it, the whole ship knew there was some big bomb dropped. We didn't know what, when, or where. And a day or two later, the second bomb dropped. Then we were learning about the bombs that they dropped.
But what happened? So first, the radio man received message of a great bomb.
Yes. And, you know, he's a chatterbox, and he told us all what he got.
And then what happened? There was another radio message giving an order to your captain. When what was that? To go to Hawaii? Pearl?
Yes. We received instructions to go to Hawaii. We stopped the rehearsal and go there and await assignment. Assignment was eventually picking up 1,500 troops for the invasion, our invasion of Japan.
But then it was occupation.
The occupation, yes. That was repeated many times.
Wow. Listening to your stories, it makes me just think about the invasion of Japan would have just been a nightmare, even for the Navy, considering that it was a nightmare for the Navy on Okinawa. It would have been even worse, just being off the shore of Japan. They would have been hammering everybody with every last bit of aircraft they had.
Well, the intelligence that reveals that the Japanese would have been targeting ships such as yours that were carrying troops that would have been part of the invasion. It would have been a bloodbath.
One hit, you got 1,700 sailors and Marines shot down and buried at sea.
It's a lot of people. Well, thank God it didn't happen. And you're living here today to tell your story. Yeah, my grandfather always talked about that too. He's like, if we had not dropped the bomb, you would not be here, I would not be here, and the world would be a different place.
I find it sad that a lot of people today don't actually really understand why it was dropped, and then we just debate this whole thing. But then it's like, I don't know.
But it's history, right? This is history, right? I mean, we weren't there at the time, and at the time, it sounded like the decision. I mean, it's easy now, all these years later, to look back and say, well, we should have, I mean, who knows? We don't know. It's history. That's why we're looking at it. We're studying it so that hopefully this doesn't happen in the future. So the more that we discuss, the more we talk, we can't change it, for sure. But it's so important for all of us to hear stories like Mr. Grabiner is here today. And to know that, he believes, along with a lot of his other brothers and sisters, that it was the right thing to do. But, who knows?
Austin, would you please bring up the photo I just sent from the occupation?
Yes.
Thank you.
I can do that.
Thank you. It's this photo. He's going to bring it up on the screen.
I like this photo. Let's see. I love the curly hair.
Wow, look at
this. Is the second day of the occupation.
Yokohama?
In
Yokosuka. Yokosuka, Japan.
In the Pacific, cigarettes were currency. One cigarette, he stopped and took a picture of me with a smile.
How much did you weigh in this photo on the left?
Oh, about 140, 135 pounds.
No way. So wet?
And how tall were you?
How tall? Were you about 5'4", 5'5"?
Yeah.
5'5"?
Yeah.
All right. Maybe 120 something pounds soaking wet. Now, in terms of all the different uniforms, you had, this is the blue.
Dress blue.
And you had a dress white?
Yes.
And those are worn off ship or for a ceremony?
Yes.
What did you wear on ship?
We wore dungaree pants, dungaree shirt, and work shoes.
Matthew.
Look at that hair.
I know. I love that hair.
You know why sailors wear bell-bottom pants?
Wait, what'd you say?
You know why?
Sailors wear bell-bottom pants.
I've heard that. I've seen that in the footage.
I have heard it's because we would need to roll it up so it wouldn't get caught, or if you were doing some work and you'd have to roll the pants up, and it was a
Oh,
lot
makes
easier. It
sense.
would be like a boot cut.
Yeah. Interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, really.
I thought it was just a fashion statement.
At that time, we had no pockets in our uniforms. We had to tuck our wallet into our trousers on top, or we put them in our shoes.
Well, you use your waist for another advantageous, your on your pants, your uniform. What happened? Was it in yeoman school with your hat and you tucked it in? What happened there? Please share that story.
This was in Virginia.
Virginia.
You know,
Emil's listening still.
there are so many troops that they have to do something. They have to paint, they have to keep them busy, or they'll go crazy.
Before you boarded the ship.
Yes. So one day they came and took 12 of us. Oh, we're gonna go paint Quonset huts. Now, I was a little wise already in the Navy, and I stood back and I watched what the guy in charge did. He took your hat and he put it away. I took my hat and I tucked it into my waist. And lo and behold, they're all there. And here I am starting to walk down the thing. The first thing I get that hat on and salute the first officer. See, the day was mine. I learned the system.
But so why would he collect the hat? You couldn't walk around the
Yeah,
base
you
without a
couldn't
hat?
walk, not permitted to go anyplace without a hat. So he had to captive to keep painting, but he didn't have me. My cap was with me.
You beat the system.
I
That's
certainly
awesome.
did.
All right. Well, Matthew, thank you.
Wow.
Good to see you. Thanks for coming on again. Got anything you want to say before you leave?
Well, I mean, when I was in New Orleans, we were there during the 300-year anniversary of the city, and there was a naval ship, and actually, I think it's sort of the newer version of basically what you were on, an amphibious assault craft, and we saw a bunch of sailors wandering around. They were still wearing like almost the exact same kind of uniform you would wear when you were off duty, just walking around their white uniforms and just enjoying themselves.
Cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Right on. All right. Well, we'll talk to you again soon, Matthew.
See you
Thanks for coming on.
All right.
Bye.
How you
All
doing there, Mr. Grabiner?
How you doing, Dad?
Pretty good.
You hanging in there?
You good? You good for a couple more?
All women bigger.
And Austin,
Are
I'm
you good?
sending you to show people.
Are you good for a couple more?
Yes, I just sent you an email, show you something that was on Dad's ship, a
All
photo.
right, cool. Well, I'll bring on Isaac while I pull that
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. Well, as Isaac, oh, here he comes. I was going to ask a question. Because I thought, I know about a year and a half ago, you had a chance to meet Mr. Roger Starbach. Am I correct?
That's correct. Yes, Austin has that
Well, I
photo.
have that photo.
Yes, he does.
Let's see.
I have it right here if you need it.
I got it.
You got it? Yeah. So,
It's-
oh, there it is.
You know who gave this to Dad? So
Wow.
the home opener of the New York Giants this past season, the Giants honored Dad, and we can explain why. Goes back to how he learned about Pearl Harbor. This was given to Dad by, you may know him, Donnie, the Giants defensive back coach, Jerome Henderson. Played, I think, 8 or 9 years as a DB in the NFL.
Yep.
And before the game, I gave Austin the video, and he had a catch with Dad on the sideline, and he gave Dad the ball before going back
Nice.
to the room, before coming out for the game.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
There it is.
Super,
There it is.
super cool. The legend, Mr. Roger Starbach.
And Roger
sir,
is a graduate of the Naval Academy, the Heisman Trophy winner. He came to Dad and he said, you know, I was in the Navy, but nothing like what you did.
That's awesome.
And then he asked Dad, may my wife and children take a photo with you? And Dad was very happy to oblige a fellow Navy vet.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That is pretty awesome. I mean, he's
That
truly a
was-
legend.
That on Donnie, on the return home from the BDF excursion to Pearl Harbor for the 80th anniversary, the flight home from Dallas to New York's LaGuardia Airport, Roger was on that plane. He was going to be rendezvousing with you 2 days later at the Army-Navy game at MetLife Stadium, that Dad's 96th birthday. And we, with the assistance of the flight attendant, we brokered a rendezvous with the luggage carousel so they could meet and take photos.
That's awesome.
Now, Roger invited Dad to a Cowboys game, but I never collected his contact information.
Oh, bummer.
So you know what's crazy? So Austin, I just sent you a picture right now. So when you were with Mr. Roger Staubach that day, the very next day, I was in New York at the Army-Navy game with Roger Staubach.
Right.
And then you sent it to me that you guys had met. So it's just pretty amazing. Like literally, like
Here you
He's
go.
wearing the
next-
same outfit.
That's Donnie on the
Yeah.
wall, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
And
in
this-
MetLife Stadium.
That's
MetLife
awesome.
Stadium, yeah. And the gentleman on the right is DeMarcus Ware.
Oh, sure.
Dallas Cowboys,
Yeah.
up for the Hall of Fame. Yeah, a great
Wow.
player,
That's
but also an even greater person, for sure.
Nice. Well, cool. Well,
Cool.
Isaac, can you hear us? All right, you're muted, so go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yep, I know. I just didn't want to interrupt.
Oh, you're good. You're good. You're good.
Yeah.
Well, welcome.
It's
to the
always
stream.
weird to watch. It's always weird to watch these because I don't know anything about sports, and I keep thinking to myself whenever I'm out here, like, if I knew like a little bit about baseball, I could talk to so many more World War II veterans about other stuff.
Oh yeah.
It's
yeah.
and I'm like, what? I don't know.
Well, you know a lot about World War II, so that's good.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
so
it's just
you're
kinda
on
funny.
with Mr. Arthur Grabiner. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell them where you're from, how old you are.
Hello, Mr. Arthur. My name is Isaac. Hello, Mr. Garabiner. My name is Isaac Bly. I'm from Minneapolis. And I was on the last Zoom you were on with the Merchant Mariner veteran.
Yep.
Yeah, so I got to see
When Mr. Grabiner crashed our stream and like it was like,
Oh,
I
George
brought him
Ellis.
on. I'm like,
The-
I know
the
this
name- the
name, and then
name-
I'm like, oh, it's Arthur.
Yeah.
Merchant Marine can't have nothing, bro.
That's awesome. Well,
I thought that was really cool because he's a Navy
Yeah.
veteran and the
Yeah,
Merchant Marine
that's
veteran. And I
awesome.
was like, I thought that's I'm just thinking like a buddy cop sort of spin, but
yeah.
but
Well, cool. The
Um,
floor is yours. Go ahead and ask a question if you want.
yeah. I guess I'm curious. So you joined in 1944. Did you take part in some of the Philippine operations, Mr. Gable?
What you was in Quaid, you joined in 44.
Yes,
So you were at the Philippines in January of 45. That was the invasion
Yes.
of Lingayan Gulf.
yeah,
That's clarifying. And then you went to Okinawa, and those are two very different environments. I mean, the Gulf of the Philippines is very much like it's not enclosed, but it's dotted around with islands, a lot more narrower area. And then Okinawa, there's that whole area you can just sail around in. How was that different for you? Like, how was that experience different between the two operations? How was the sea different?
In terms of the terrain, the topography, the seas between participating in the invasion of Lingayan Gulf versus Okinawa.
in Lingayan Gulf was a quickie, a one-day affair for us to get the troops in. We discharged them and we left the area that evening and went to another port. Okinawa, we hung around for a week. We had a surgeon, two surgeons on our ship, and two other doctors, a dentist, and the crew of
500 of your crew, 550.
no, the crew in sickbay.
Oh.
We were there they shipped back 6 troops who were wounded, and they performed surgery for them. The ships from my class could carry maybe 20 wounded individuals. So we hung around a week. Eventually, when we left, we went to Saipan and we got rid of the 6 individuals who they went into the hospital there. That's the difference. In the Philippines was a quickie turnaround, but this one we hung around in the Okinawa.
Was the sea different? Was it one more treacherous than the other?
In terms of the seas, were they
Like
any
the water?
There are, when you go closer to Japan, the North China Sea, and Japan and China, it's a treacherous sea. It opens up and it's wild.
Well, you, if I may, he was just mentioning about George Hamilton described the storms. Wasn't there a storm that took you also way off course?
We were going from the west coast of the United States to Hawaii, and we were going to go on a northern circle, which is the shortest way to get there. Well, we took off, and lo and behold, we hit a typhoon. Instead of going forward, we ended up backwards outside of
Aleutian Islands?
Aleutian Islands. And it took us a while to get over to Hawaii.
Way off course. You were taken north.
Yes.
Nice.
I shared with you, Donnie shared with us his Army Navy experience from 2021. I just sent 2 photos to you from 2022.
All right. So Isaac, do you have another question there?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a more interesting one. I guess it's kind of hard to, I mean, I would argue that it's somewhat political, but it's kind of weird. I was curious, what do you think about the UN? Like, what was your relationship with that? Because you were, when it was first founded, what did you think? Did you think it was possible? Did you be hopeful? Did you think there was issues with it? And how do you feel about it moving forward?
You have any thoughts about the United Nations?
Well, yes, they're lackadaisical. They're not forceful. And it's all come here and it's a week of fun and games for everybody that comes to New York for the meeting. But really, they are not completing what they were set up for.
Isaac, we live in New York City, where the United Nations is. Every September, the General Assembly meets. May I be very blunt with you? The parties that benefit most when the General Assembly convenes are the hotels, the restaurants, and the hookers.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. And we were talking about the other guy for swearing.
If you like the economy and more. We have been in too many traffic jams on the east side of Manhattan when the General Assembly convenes.
What did you think about it at the, so that's now, which is kind of interesting, but what did you think about it at the time compared to now?
Going way
Like
back.
when it was first founded.
When it was formed, do you think the creation of the United Nations would help forestall any further international conflicts?
If they had guts behind them, but little conflicts all over come up and they're sidelined easily. They close them up or they continue on for years.
So a lot of bureaucrats.
Mhm.
You're the ones who have to fight the wars and the other ones who make the wars.
Well, I mean, at the time, you got to look back at history. So, Isaac, you think about when it was created, you know, right after World War II. I think it was in October 1945. So coming off what just happened, I mean, we had the League of Nations before that, obviously, you know, World War I. And this is a time where, you know, trying to get all nations together so we can communicate and talk, so we don't have another world war like this. I mean, that was the intention, but hopefully we can, come together and not have any more wars, because as you know, war is ugly and it's not glorified at all. I mean, there's always death and destruction, and hopefully we can learn from it. As you're studying history, where we're all here today, hearing the stories from our veterans and learning about the past, hearing it directly from their mouths, and so hopefully we continue to do that. So let me ask you a couple questions, Isaac. So what prompted you to get involved in learning about World War II history?
That's a long story.
That's all right.
and I also would be separated from when I was doing it, because I thought it was kind of fun when I was younger, and after meeting with Neil McCallum, which is just a very drastic level of intensity difference.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, it's hard because it's also really important to why I do everything. So that kind of feels, in a weird way, that feels like asking me why I do what I do, like why I am who I am now.
Yeah.
In kind of a weird way, because that's the reason why I became that's kind of the core motivation and the interest that kind of pushes me to do everything that I do now.
Nice.
It's hard to explain, but I've like reading really often, talking about politics and history. It's all rooted in that. So what got me interested in it was, I don't know, being interested in, it's hard because I had interest before. So being interested in being oh, cool, this would be some cool thing to learn about from firsthand evidence. And then really learning that I remember hearing Neil McCallum, and the thing that really shook me was he's a regular guy. Before, he was just a random guy, a random fellow, just totally ordinary person. And I remember growing up and always thinking to myself, I had a very heroic image, personified legendary image of the war, which isn't super historically authentic. And I remember that and thinking that this person who I had idolized and heroified, thought was the greatest thing ever, was just some dude. And I remember, at least looking back on it, I realized that this is part of the reason that helped motivate me, was that realizing that I was never really very proud of who I was, because I always felt like I could be better, or wasn't smart enough, or wasn't applying myself enough. People were always you're pretty smart, but you don't do anything. And I was yeah, that's fair enough. And I remember being okay, he was some random guy, and then he became someone I could look up to. So anyone could be someone like that, and I could be someone like that. And then I felt like I had to be someone like that, because I owed it to not only people who helped me, but also to veterans. So that's why who I think I should be has so much to do with that, because he was I'll be honest, he was a random person. He's some guy, and that's
most of the guys were working on the farms.
Yeah, they're totally
farmers.
Or in high school. Normal, with a paper route and everything. Yeah.
Isaac,
but sometimes you don't realize your potential, what you could be, unless you go after it and apply yourself and make it happen.
No, the special people don't need to be exceptional. Exceptional people aren't special. Yes, sir.
You are wearing a shirt from the National World War II Museum.
Yeah, I got my Higgins boat merch. Bro.
All right, landing craft.
Landing craft, baby.
Austin, while we're speaking to Isaac, would you be kind enough, just a little while ago, I sent an email to you, the subject line LC. Isaac, have you visited the museum?
Yes, I have. I was there. I also went, you would not believe this. I went to, well, actually, you probably would. I can't remember the name, the five brothers. I just forgot their name.
Sullivan.
Yeah, they have a veterans museum for the Sullivan brothers that I went to on my way to New Orleans. It's honestly amazing. It's they really love the history there, so they try and make it engaging. And it's such a loving, bro, that's the guy. That's the person from the Zoom in the photo.
That's Arthur Grabiner right there. Yeah.
Right. So the back of your shirt, you were at the museum. What is that? What is that, Isaac?
That's an LST, I'm guessing. That's the smaller vehicles that he flagged to go.
Your shirt, that is on the ground floor near the entrance of the museum. That is one of the Higgins. And why is it called the Higgins boat? You should know this.
Because the inventor name was Higgins, and he made boats. He named it after, well, it was named after him because the contract that they made with the government was really vague, so he didn't have a name for it. He kind of was making boats to go around the delta of New Orleans. and so it was boats that could go over the land and in the water, and the government was like, that's a really good idea, and so he
Where is he
proposed it
from?
as that.
Where is he from?
He is not from New Orleans.
Well, but
He is?
that's where his company was located.
Yeah.
Who constructed these crafts.
Yeah.
And that is a photo from 2016 of Dad standing in front of.
Do we get a picture again?
Could you show that again,
Yeah,
Austin?
yeah, I can show it again.
That is in the National World War II Museum
Yeah.
in New Orleans.
As I told you before, the landing craft couldn't go in to the beach in many areas. This ramp is generally up and closed. When they discharge troops where they can, they would come down and go this way. If they couldn't, they would go down and have their rifles over their head and walk in the rough waters.
And General Eisenhower credited Higgins as the man who won the war for the Allies, because without his design invention of the Higgins boats, beach landings would have been impossible.
Wow.
I've been reading this book, Blood and Ruin, about it's a reframing of World War II as sort of the last imperial war from 1931 to 1945 by Richard Avery, who's one of my favorite writers. And he has a chapter in it called The Rise of the Amphibians. And it's all talking about how the Allies ended up having to master the part of the reason, one of his theories is that the Allies they were able to sustainably master the combination of air, sea, and ground operations. And that a lot of one time George Marshall actually said, my ambition in this war is to conduct an operation that won't be amphibious.
How old are you?
I am 18.
You're 18. What do you aspire to do?
I want to be the best historian who's ever lived. I think that's a good thing for me to work on. I think it'll take a couple. You're on
a good track. You're on a good track, bud.
I'm on a good track. I'm gonna try my best. I figure that's a good thing. That's a good hill to die on for me.
Well,
That's a great,
I have
great
a suggestion.
aspiration.
I think you're very articulate beyond your years. As a historian, you may be spending a lot of time by yourself. I think you would be very skilled as a litigator.
I've done a lot of lecturing with people.
Debating.
Lecturing and debating, honestly. Ironically, I did a nuclear bomb debate in one of my school classes. And I did my research for that one. And I remember talking to the person and I was like, and they were talking about and our textbook was always talking about American casualties because that's kind of the way it was like. I was like, do you understand that like people were starving en masse? So long as you check out, I remember reading Ian Atol's Quiet of the Gods. And he's like, there was mass starvation. Part of the thing that the Americans did is they helped relieve the starvation in Japan. And they helped, and that's something that would have killed like millions of people beyond just the actual fighting. There's millions of people starving. It was destroying that like the social fiber of their country. And that's one thing I always credit, which is the atom bomb it was not even necessarily a necessary evil, but it's one of those things that, can you imagine how much of a soul of Japan would be damaged if their emperor would force, if they were motivated by their, well, not egged on, but in service of their empire and their ancestors, they had to wipe out generations. Can you imagine how much deep damage that would do in the starvation and the hunger? Whatever you think about what Japan became now, you have to recognize that Japan still remembers who it is. And that's something that when I think about the services is that's something that Japan was saved from, was deep.
You then understand why General MacArthur wanted to leave the emperor in place.
Yeah, although that's another complicated decision, which I understand, but also it's also interesting because there's a debate over how much control he actually had over things, and I would argue that he kind of didn't. He didn't have control, but he contributed in ending it. It's one of those weird debates that we don't actually really know.
Wow.
I'd always say that he's important as you think, minus 50%.
Mm-hmm. He became a figurehead, but he was important.
Words for discussion. I like it. Words for discussion.
Yeah, we could go all day on this one.
No, this is good. This is history, right? You're talking about different scenarios, and I mean, I love this type of discussion. Like the what ifs and what it is, all is, and having different opinions come from different sides. Because a lot of people, like, depending on history, I mean, it's coming from one side, like you said, right? What about the other side, and how are they looking at it? Like, what's their lens and the way that they saw it from their side, versus. So I think to truly understand, you got to look at both sides for sure.
Yeah, and there's often multiple sides. One thing that's interesting is Aboriginal populations in like Okinawa who were pretty, and like Korean laborers were always very much like they had very high casualties as well in the Pacific. Okinawa, there was like 7,000 Korean laborers died in Okinawa, and I always remember that being sort of, I mean, there's people who were like, well, they weren't slaves, they were basically living in indentured servitude, basically. So similar to like the Nadir period for African Americans after the 1900s.
Well, who built the caves, Isaac? Who built the tunnels in the cave complex?
The Korean laborers. And one thing that's also crazy is that they didn't use dynamite. They used pickaxes because they didn't have it, which is part of the reason why they had such a difficulty going through it. Also, one funny thing to me is that we talk about the Japanese Constitution is something that with the Americans made. It's a really big deal. It hasn't been amended ever. It's only the pacifist constitutions. That was knocked out in less than 2 weeks.
Mhm. Right.
It's just
Non-aggression.
non-aggression. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Very good. You're impressive.
No, it really is.
Got the job. You got the job, buddy.
Yeah. So you definitely, I think you definitely have it for sure. It's up to you and your generation to keep pushing it forward for sure. I mean, for you to have this opportunity to connect and to talk with a World War II veteran, just imagine 20 years from now, when everybody's, remembering and talking about it, but you were there and you had
I
that,
remember. I'll tell you what, I've already put a lot of the stuff into lecturing I've done. I remember talking about New McCallum for a lot of the stuff I do my lecturing on. And
Where do you live?
I live in Minneapolis. But I'm going to Spain for 14 weeks soon.
Nice.
And actually, I am planning on using the UN stuff because I have a couple of opinions, people around the time period about what they think about the UN, because it's interesting. A lot of World War II veterans are like, the UN doesn't do shit. I did that back in my day, and you don't see me complaining about it. Which is something that, like, I don't think anyone else really has the excuse to say.
I love it.
You don't
Well, cool.
Isaac.
Isaac, we're gonna bring in the next guy, but do you have anything you want to say before you go?
I really appreciate your service, and I also really appreciate what you've done for our community. It's not just like teaching people about World War II, which is important to learn about, but also helping people to connect with history with a visual face. And I really appreciate that. Not just, I really appreciate your combat service, but also your service to like the community and as a person. I really admire, and I hope that I can carry that on. Thank you for being here.
Isaac, you're a rock star, dude. Thank you.
You're a rock star, buddy.
You're inspiring us as well.
Austin, while we're waiting for Paulo, bring up the photo that I sent you. It says Donnie.
All right, Isaac. We'll
Isaac,
see you
we gotta
later,
get
buddy.
You a shirt. You got a shirt? Have we sent you a shirt yet?
All right, we'll send you a shirt.
I gotta sign up.
Email me, austin@bdf.org, and we'll get
Austin@bdf.org. Alrighty, we'll do. I'll wear it everywhere, bro.
All right.
I like it. See you, buddy.
See you in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
All right. I love that. All right. So what you're saying, the picture that says Donnie?
The subject line says Donnie. I emailed it to you just a little while ago. We're waiting for Paulo.
Okay.
Yes. I'd like everybody to see something. But Donnie is a modest gentleman.
All right. Coming up.
Okay.
Boom.
All right. If you'll indulge me for a moment, because Donnie is too modest a gentleman. This is a photo that would be important, and every son or daughter of a World War II veteran would understand what I am about to say. This photo was taken on the BDF Pearl Harbor 80th excursion. This photo was taken on Monday, December 6th, 2021, when we visited Marine Corps Base, Hawaii at Kaneohe Bay. The veterans just disembarked the buses, and we were waiting to visit students in the school. The Marines you see behind Dad, who was in the wheelchair, would be escorting each veteran to a classroom. Donnie came over to talk to Dad, and they're shaking hands. Now, for those of you who've not met Donnie, Donnie is a very tall gentleman, all right? Donnie was one of the preeminent linebackers in the history of the National Football League. Statistically, he is among the leaders in many categories collegiately at UCLA and in the NFL. Donnie doesn't stand over a veteran who's in a chair and tower over the vet and make him look up. Donnie kneels and he looks at the veteran eye to eye, or the veteran would look down on him. It's a measure of respect. It demonstrates how important these veterans are, that Donnie would do this for them. And Dad and I have had conversations about this. When you see Donnie with a veteran in a wheelchair, this is what Donnie will do. He will not stand over and tower them. This is a measure of respect, of admiration. And as a son of a World War II veteran whom you are meeting there, I want you to know how much I appreciate this photo.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I
You know.
agree 100% with your sentiments, Doug.
Thank you. Very
My pleasure.
kind. And, these are heroes. These are truly heroes, and like I always said, when I see kids wearing my jersey, like, when I was playing football, I just wish that they had jerseys and I can push and elevate them, for what they did. And I have so much admiration, so much respect, because there's no way, Doug and Arthur and Austin, everybody watching, that I will be able to do what I've done in my life, to get educated at UCLA, to play pro football, to change my life, and to truly have this platform and bring together a team with Best Defense Foundation to give back and to serve all those who served us. And it truly is, something that I will never forget. So thank you so much. And we're going to continue to do that.
Now, if you saw Donnie, you see him in that photo, in that crouch. I well imagine during the season when the San Diego Padres catching ranks are thin, Donnie might be getting a call from the Padres.
That would be awesome.
Well, if I didn't have 3 knee surgeries, I'll be able to squat like a catcher. Those days are over now. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's
That
awesome.
picture, that is of the trip. That is the picture that's most evocative for me.
Nice.
Thank you.
Nice. All right. Well, we got Paolo here.
Hello,
Here's
guys.
Paolo.
Can you hear me?
We can hear
We
you.
hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Nice
All
to see
right.
you guys again.
Nice to see you too. Go ahead and tell them where you're from.
Hello,
Where you
Mr.
from?
Grabiner. My name is Paulo. I just turned 20 like a week ago.
Happy
And,
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're a man
And,
now, out of your teens.
And yeah. And I'm from Brazil, Mr. Grabiner.
Brazil.
From Brazil.
Yes, sir.
Have you been to Brazil, Arthur?
No,
We, Paulo,
Yes.
in New York City, 46th Street between 5th Avenue and 6th Avenue is known as Little Brazil. During the World Cup, people come onto the streets with televisions and watch when Brazil plays soccer.
That's awesome.
Oh, really? Nice.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Well,
I
I
can't
got
even
really
imagine the energy.
disappointed over this last World Cup. I was expecting that Brazil would get the 6th star, man, but unfortunately we lost to Croatia, man.
This
Yeah.
year's World Cup was a lot of fun. Man. A lot
Our,
of
condolence, our condolences on Pele's passing.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah. Forgot about that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
that
sure.
was really sad moment for the whole country and for the whole world, man.
Oh yeah,
For the
that guy
people
was a
that
legend.
enjoy soccer and yeah, it's very sad moment. So hey, Mr. Grabiner, how are you doing?
pretty good, thank you. And
All
how are you
right.
doing?
I'm doing fine.
Good,
Better
good.
now.
Come on, Arthur, you got to think about this, Doug. Think about this. This is, all the way around the world. We've been all the way to the Philippines.
Ireland.
We've been to Europe and Ireland. Now
South
we're down
America.
to South America and Brazil.
Wow.
Pretty amazing.
Wow.
You guys really inspired the world and
Wow.
changed the world,
And-
inspiring young generation, young kids.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. Paolo, what do you want to say?
Well, I have just a couple of questions. I don't want to take too long, but the first question is, Mr. Grabiner, could you give us an overall vision of what it was like for you to train in the Navy? So what was the training in the Navy like? Because I know about the training in the Army and the training in the Marines, but I don't have much knowledge about the training in the Navy. So could you give us some explanations on that?
As I stated in the beginning, the Navy thinks everything and does everything, and we are under their command at all times, 24/7. My experience in the Navy, great. I traveled, I learned, I kept my eyes open, and I got along with people, which is a great thing you have to do. Living 550 people with different ideas, and you have to pick and choose who, what, and when. And the Navy taught me how to do all of these things and be comfortable in life.
When you were drafted and joined the Navy, you were younger than Paulo now. His birthday he was a week ago. He's 20. You spoke a little earlier about all you knew growing up in the Bronx was 20 miles, which is roughly 20 blocks, roughly 1 mile in either direction.
Yeah.
Was this, despite the culture shock from growing up where everybody in your neighborhood was pretty much the same, and now you are aboard a ship with people from all over the country and you're traveling thousands of miles from home?
It's an experience. Here I lived in a little cocoon neighborhood, and that's where occasionally I would go out of it to visit or see something. But in the Navy, they broadened my horizon, opened my eyes, and especially taught us how to get along with all types of people.
Great. And another question, do you remember when you crossed the equator line?
Yes.
Did you guys put any show? Like, did you put on any show when you crossed the equator line? Because I remember that.
I was a polywog.
Explain what a polywog is.
Polywog is somebody who, in naval terms, hasn't crossed the equator. Then we went. and-
Polywog? Did I get it right? A polywog?
Polywog. Polywog, when you have yet to cross the equator.
Right. And we had a great ceremony while crossing the equator. King Neptune came to visit us, and he's sitting there holding up his septum and giving orders. One thing he did for me, he took a sheet metal shear and gave me one haircut. That was it. People were lined up for King Neptune to take care of it. Now, I'm not a polywog anymore. I'm a shellback. It goes into my final record that I crossed the equator, and this is something in life that most people don't do.
But this is a ceremony among the crew.
That's correct.
And these are your fellow sailors who put on the King Neptune
Yes.
outfit.
We built a little pool, and it was a fun day, and a day when the cooks took care of us at the end of the day.
And you have a little card that shows your designation as a shellback.
That's correct.
Now, I have heard of fellow Navy veterans who said during the ceremony, they had to get down and kiss King Neptune's belly.
It all depends which ship you're on.
I had no idea this was even a thing.
Dude, I'm learning this. I'm taking notes right now. I'm writing this stuff down because I'm gonna probably stay up all night, like, you know, Googling
I
this.
want
and try
to
find out
see
about
this
a
ceremony take
polywog,
place.
shellback.
So I have met Navy veterans younger than Dad who served on submarines, submariners. And there is also a term, if you pierce the ice in the Arctic, and then if you step out onto the ice, there's one derivation called a blue nose. A blue nose. I don't know if that means that you simply have pierced the Arctic ice, or if you stepped out onto the ice in the Arctic.
That's so funny. That's awesome.
Yeah, I remember I was reading a book the other day about the memories of a Brazilian soldier. And in the book, it is talked about this, like, this show that happened on the troop ship while they were going up north. And when they crossed the equator line, they had this big show with this Neptune.
Yes.
Right.
That's so rad.
I know. I'm learning this. This is incredible. This is all good news. This is all good stuff because I'm gonna start like searching and finding more about it.
I know.
You know,
That should be in a movie.
Totally. Polywog.
That's so rad.
That's
Paolo's
awesome.
Paolo's always got the interesting questions.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
I always learn something new when Paolo comes on.
That's right. That's right.
He used a sheet metal shear to give you a haircut.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then, and there I had a nice haircut. Took a while to get back, but I got it.
That's so rad.
That's
So
awesome.
rad. Well,
You
Paolo,
had
you got
nice
anything
hair,
else?
too. You had that great hair too. Nice curls in the front and everything. I can see it.
Curls, man.
The shears, just like chopping it off with the shears. That's awesome.
Paolo, do you got anything else?
What's that?
You got anything else?
Oh, yes, I have one more question. Mr. Grabiner,
Yes.
what were your expectations for the invasion of Japan?
So if the Allies had invaded the Japanese home islands, and you were prepared, you were rehearsing an invasion when the first bomb was dropped.
That's correct.
What expectations, if any, did you have?
Well, you know, we're gung-ho. They taught you in the Navy. We're always gung-ho and do what you want to do. And we're going to go into the Japan. We learned that it wasn't easy to go into Okinawa. It took months. And if we had to go into Japan, I wouldn't be here. Correct? I tell you, I wouldn't be here because then fighting becomes fierce.
Paulo, at the Battle of Okinawa, the Americans didn't necessarily learn anything about the Japanese strategically that they hadn't already known. It simply confirmed how savage and fierce and brutal the Japanese military was. And the expectations were that had the Allies, the Americans, invaded the Japanese home islands, this would have been a bloodbath.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. And by the way, I just finished reading a book very good about Peleliu in Okinawa. I think you guys probably know this book with the
Oh, yeah. Love it.
Well, and I saw how
Ledge.
savage the battle in Okinawa was. And I even remembered about two veterans that I had the chance to speak to here on YouTube through the Best Defense Foundation, who were Neil McCallum and Kenneth Wells, both of the 6th Marine Division. And well, they were it was a bloodbath. Yes.
Mm.
For sure. Well, cool. Paolo, always a pleasure. Thanks for coming on again. If you want to say something, one last thing to Mr. Grabiner.
Mr. Grabiner, thank you for your service and thank you for your time. You're the man.
Thank you very much.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If I could ask that a question, Austin, I just sent 2 emails to you. Could you bring up the first one, Pearl Harbor attack? Because
Sure.
nobody has asked Dad the following question. How did you learn of the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor? Dad mentioned you had transited through Pearl Harbor about half a dozen times during the war. You have subsequently visited with the Best Defense Foundation for the 80th anniversary in December of 2021. So Austin can bring something up. So let's talk about December 7, 1941. How old were you? Where were you? What were you
I
doing?
was 16 years
We were
old.
4 days before your 16th
I was
birthday.
home in my bedroom. I had the radio on for the football game of the Brooklyn Dodgers and the New York Giants.
The National Football League.
Yes. And here they were honoring Tuffy Lehman. Here's a picture of him on the program. While listening to the radio, all of a sudden, some news broadcaster breaks in and says, all military personnel report back to their bases. I don't know what the heck is going on here, military personnel. Then they started to talk about bombing of Pearl Harbor. I don't know what the hell they're talking about. I never knew Pearl Harbor. Well, the next day, President Roosevelt had a speech in our school. Everybody was in their homeroom listening to the intercom on the system when President Roosevelt comes on and tells us that the Japanese have violated their obligation and they struck us, and he asked for a declaration of war against Germany, Japan, Italy, and
That was it.
that was it. And he got it. From that moment on, my personal life changed because things were rationed. Things were different in school. All of a sudden, if you're a young guy, he just turned 17, he enlisted in the army. Things were, and the Western Union carrier, unfortunately, was busy on my block. He was delivering those fatal orders, telegrams on the death of a person.
Could you go back to that image you just put up, Austin?
Yeah.
Thank you. Paulo, you see this image?
Yes.
Look at the very top line. This was the cover page of the program that day. It cost an entire all of 10 cents to buy the program on December 7, 1941 at an NFL game. Today, you couldn't buy a paragraph for 10 cents.
Oh,
That's crazy.
And then
amazing.
I sent subsequent to this, Austin, an email. It says WOR radio. I'd like for everyone, it has audio and everyone can hear what Dad heard when he was listening to the football game about how he learned and many people learned about the attack.
Oh, it's a YouTube video?
Yeah,
Okay, let me see.
it has audio.
I know there's something special I got to do to play the audio. Hold on a second here. Sharing options.
Yeah, while you're looking that up, I was just like just searching here on the side. Tuffy Lehman's.
Yes.
Tuffy Lehman. NFL Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1978. And was named in 1969 to the NFL 1930s All-Decade Team. The guy's a legend. Played fullback and halfback.
That's awesome.
Yeah, from Wisconsin. 6 foot, 195 pounds. Pretty amazing.
Dang. All right, let's see if this plays the audio. To share computer audio. What?
The WOR radio in New York broadcasted. You were listening to this game on the radio in your bedroom at home.
Mhm.
This is how you learned of the attack.
Let's see if it'll play. There it-
Now they've just scored. Ace Parker did it. John Sutherland's boys lead the Giants 7-0. Here's the whistle. Merle Condit comes up. He boots it. It's a long one down to around the 3-yard line. Ward Cup takes it. He's cutting up to his left. He's over the 10. Nice block there by Lehman. Cup still going. He's up to the 25. And now he's hit and hit hard about the 27-yard line. Susan Kennard made the tackle. We interrupt this broadcast to bring you this important bulletin from the United Press. Flash, Washington. The White House announces Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. Stay tuned to WOR for further developments, which will be broadcast immediately as received.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
They just straight up cut off the game.
Wow.
Now, Dad,
Wow.
if you had a globe or a world map in your bedroom, could you have found Pearl
No.
Harbor?
No.
And when you were, now back in that day, news was transmitted how? The radio?
There's something by the radio, but the newspapers, every afternoon, they would send out newsboys, extra, 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 the latest news. And this was a daily occurrence.
Mhm. Or you learned the movie tone in the movie theater. No,
Right.
no television, no internet.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. I can't imagine like watching the game. Here you're watching your player, your team, you're rooting for your team, and then like right in the middle of a run, it's like, you know, breaking breaking news, like Pearl
Yeah.
Harbor's back. And you're probably thinking at your age, like Pearl Harbor, like where is that at? Is that in America?
Yeah.
Can't imagine hearing news like that. Just changing the whole world from that point on.
And there were stadiums, I've heard people remark that at now the Commanders, then the Redskins, an announcement for military personnel to report.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Super cool. Thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
Yeah. All right, Paulo. We'll see you soon. bud.
Thank you.
Thank
Goodbye.
you.
All right. All right,
Happy
Paulo.
birthday.
Just remember, if you haven't passed the equator, you're a pollywog. And if you do pass, you're a shellback. Don't forget to get your hair cut by.
Yeah. You want to meet Neptune?
That's right.
Good.
See you, buddy. See you. Thanks for coming on. We're learning something every day. I tell you that. Great stories.
All right. So yeah, we'll do one more real quick one with Radu, and then we'll call it a day. Radu and Donnie, I know you're super tired. If you wanna back out, yeah, we totally understand. It's 2 a.m. where Donnie is.
Wow.
He's a trooper. All right, Radu. Let's see if he's still here. Let's see. I clicked.
You hanging in there, Arthur?
Yeah, you hanging in?
Yes, sir.
All right.
He's
All
a
right.
trooper. All right, says joining. Radu.
There we go.
All right, we can see, but we can't hear you.
Can you hear me? No?
Now we can hear you.
Yeah, there you are.
Sorry, I
How
had
you
some
doing?
problems.
Did I get it right? It's Radu?
Radu, yes.
Radu, okay.
It's pretty hard to pronounce because it's Romanian.
All right, well, Radu, you are on with Mr. Arthur Grabiner. Tell him where you are, who you are, and where you're from.
Hello, sir. I want to first that I really thank you for your service, even though I'm not from USA. I'm from Romania, and I'm 16. And Romania is basically like 10,000 miles away from USA.
Yeah.
So,
Wow, 10,000 miles away from USA in
Wow.
Romania. Arthur, have you ever been to Romania?
No, I have not.
no one has.
When you go to
That's
Romania,
Romania.
you'll
We
be
thought
a
it was
rowback.
Oh, many people go to Bucharest.
Yeah, and usually they get pickpocketed. So no.
So, Radu, how did you, a 16-year-old kid from Romania, get interested in World War II?
Well, I really don't know. My great grandfather, both of my two of my great grandfathers served in Stalingrad with the Romanian army, and when we were fighting the Russians, and then we joined the Allies, and we got pretty decimated by everyone else. So we got knocked out by all the parties, and we had King Michael, who didn't want to join the Axis, and basically that's the story. But we had a marshal called, I don't know if you know him, Antonescu, who was a very good friend of Hitler, and that's why we joined the Axis, besides the Nazis. And basically, I have a history of military family, and I saw that in school. We don't, I don't know, we are not being taught anything. I mean, literally anything. We're just taught about Romanian history from I don't know how many centuries ago, and I really think that especially World War II should be taught to everyone, because it was so important and people don't realize it, and it should not be forgotten, because it's, like you said, I think it's the most important war, because if the USA would have not have bombed the Japanese people, it will be, I don't know where we will be today.
We live in a very different world, and we might not be here.
Exactly. And my father is a colonel in the military, and that's basically why I wanted to learn everything. And I respect the veterans, even if they didn't show action, because I think, in my opinion, everyone who was, I don't know, not able, everyone who wanted to join, and even if they didn't see any action, they wanted to go there and do something. So even if they didn't have any combat experience, they should be respected, because someone who would have went to combat, I don't know, just should be respected. Sorry for my bad English, but
No, you're good.
No,
they were willing to serve.
No, you're good. But it's all full circle if you think about it. I mean, I know people that are in Romania right now from America serving there.
Yeah.
I mean,
101st, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because we have the Ukraine war right besides us, and we hate the Russians so much, and yeah.
to put it boldly.
Yeah, we hate the Russians, and even though we were a communist country, we hated them, and that's why we had a revolution, a very violent one that no one knows about.
Yeah. Well, Radu, do you have any got some questions for Mr. Grabiner?
Yeah. First, what was your opinion about the Japanese people knowing that the military was so brutal, because they had those banzai charges and everything? They were brutal.
Question is about the brutality of the Japanese military, and you're familiar with what they did to civilians on Saipan.
Yes.
Saipan.
Yes. Oh, it was brutal what they did. What we learned about later, having the women jump off cliffs with the babies in their hand, and whether they lived or were killed, it was terrible, terrible. They were, and if we had to go in and encounter this in mainland Japan, it would be terrible for our troops and theirs.
Well, they brainwashed the people that the Americans would come and would commit acts of barbarity and brutality.
Yes.
And convince people to sacrifice their own lives before the Americans arrived.
That's correct.
Now, did you know all this before you went into the service? Were you aware of the Japanese and their tactics? And were you like scared to?
I know nothing Japanese about the Japanese. I knew nothing.
But what
except that they were sinking on ships like crazy.
But what were you told in boot camp? What the indoctrination was? You were told things about the Japanese and the Germans, and contrasted what you were told about the Americans? What did they drill into your head in boot camp?
They were evil people. We were kind and grateful. We were terrific people. They were evil.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Were you
Certainly.
nervous to encounter one like face to face?
You nervous when you were aboard ship?
No, not really, not really. The ship felt very secure with it.
Well, that's good.
I heard someone, veteran, I don't know, I can't remember his name. It was in an interview, who saw action in Iwo Jima and Okinawa, and said, I think he was a Marine, and he said that before the war he didn't know if he could kill someone, and after he saw someone, Japanese, the way the Japanese killed Americans, he said that he changed his mind and he could kill someone because they were so brutal and so evil.
They would perform vivisections on POWs.
Yeah, exactly. And there are a lot of stories that are untold and a lot of experiments, exactly like the Holocaust and concentration camps. I don't know if you saw the movie Unbroken.
Yes. Yes.
I think
Zamparelli. Yes.
Yeah. I think it really shows how a small part of how brutal they were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure. For sure. Yeah, I can't imagine going in to fight an enemy like that where you know they're not going to show you any mercy. And you even as a human just being like thinking I would love to be able to just somehow show some mercy, like we can capture them, whatever, but you know that they have no intention of being captured. They will, death before dishonor. They will die before they're captured, and they'll take you out. No, not even a second thought.
Well, in terms of brainwashing civilians, that look what they did to the kamikaze suicide aircraft pilots.
Yeah.
Many of them had very little flying experience, so they were just thrown literally into the breach, into the fire. They were brainwashed into doing this. This is how desperate the Japanese became.
Yeah.
It was considered inhumane warfare.
Yeah.
Exactly. People were saying that Nazis were bad, but in my opinion, the worst was Japanese, because the Nazis actually, when they came into Romania, they were civil. When Russia came into Romania, they were brutal because the women hide in the haystacks. I don't know, hay, the
Yes, the haystacks.
So they wouldn't get raped. But the most brutal were Japanese, because they really didn't care about.
I've heard lots of stories of German civility, like where there'd be temporary peace or truces between the troops, like Christmas or whatever, some of our troops would even let Germans go. Some of the Germans would let our troops go, just because their humanity would kick in, and they would see each other as human, and just, they'd find some peace. I've never heard that story in the Pacific.
Yeah, exactly.
Stories like that. It's unbelievable how brutal that was.
That scene, that scene in Hacksaw Ridge, when they surrender and they actually want to kill themselves and open their grenade. Yeah, that's basically they were taught with the idea that the most honorable thing to do is die in combat, and the most dishonorable thing is to surrender. So
just a different mentality, because mentality as Americans, allies, was to preserve life, right?
Yeah.
And to, you fight and fight, but at least you want to hold on to that, and to fight against someone that has that whole different mentality is something that's hard for us to comprehend at times.
Like America didn't want to be involved at all.
Yeah, but they had to, because
yeah, we weren't trying to go out and kill people, man.
Yeah.
Brutal.
it's war, and
Yeah.
I guess it could be averted, but I don't know. I spoke to, I don't know if you remember, with Mr. Kenneth Wells and
Yep.
Melvin Hurwitz, and
Yes.
they were talking about how, I mean, different mentors were talking about how war was in Europe and other regions, but nah, in the Pacific it was brutal.
Yeah, sure. Well, Radu, you got one more question?
Yeah. What did you feel when the war ended?
When the war ended,
After the bombs were dropped?
after the bombs were dropped now, did you feel a sense of relief? You spoke about that you were appreciative of what President Truman did. You thought he saved your life.
Yes, and we were busy bringing troops back home, and then
The occupation.
yes, and looking forward for going to school and trying to adapt to a civilian life.
Yeah.
And was it hard?
Was it difficult adapting?
No, I made it.
And what did you do when you returned home?
Well, I signed up for different schools, and eventually I went to Pace University, became Pace College, became Pace University.
Pace Institute.
Pace Institute.
And how long did it take you to earn your degree?
At that time, there were so many veterans. They ran 3 sessions a year. So I did it in 9 months.
No, how many years did it take you to earn your degree?
3 years.
3 years.
Pretty fast. And you
Yes.
get that through I mean, I know your bio, but just for everybody watching, and that was paid for through the GI Bill, correct?
Like the GI Bill.
Oh, yes, that's wonderful. Paid for my schooling. It gave me pocket money and paid for my books. It was wonderful.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of the biggest things that guys talk about, that I spoke to from the war. I mean, having the GI Bill, still to this day, the GI Bill is still there. It's just one of the great things about giving back to those who serve. And I think it's just wonderful.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Oh, Radu, thank you so much for joining us.
Can I show you something?
Yeah, go for it.
I don't know. It's not really related to the Pacific, but it's related to World War II. So I thought I would. A car 98. Okay.
Oh, nice.
Is that original?
No, it's a replica one, but it's pretty.
Wow.
Pretty rad. Have you ever shot
Isn't
it?
that amazing, right?
Yeah,
So you look
yeah.
at that. So is it amazing? Look at that rifle, right? Car
Yeah.
98. That's what the Germans used in World War II.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's bolt action, right? It's bolt action. And I mean, compare that to the M1 Garand, right?
Yeah.
That the Americans use, semi-automatic, pulling your.
Dun, 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 bing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the Garand thumb.
Yeah. I mean, we had the Springfield, and then we migrated to obviously the M1 Garand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Austin,
Yes.
Dad just spoke about college. Would you just bring up, I'm going to send you a photo. I don't think it went through yet. I'm trying to send to you a photo of him at the, grad photo. It just went through. So you can show Radu that mention.
Okay. Wow. Let's pull that up. And he's a good looking guy.
So Dad, if you would take a look at this photo that Austin's bringing up and explain this, please. This is your.
Oh.
Wow.
Photo. I got a BBA degree, and that was it.
What year? 1950?
Yes. Well, that
How
was
old were you there? Like
1950.
Class of 19, but you could.
But I finished 1949.
You finished in December of 49, right? So you graduated in 1950.
Right.
Class of. Where was your graduation commencement exercise? Big hotel in New York, the Waldorf Astoria.
Waldorf Astoria.
No way.
Astoria
Really?
Hotel.
Wow.
Hey, I've been there. I told you guys I stayed at the Waldorf.
Now, Donnie, do you
Yes.
remember Doug Woodward? He spent some time as a quarterback, maybe with the Cowboys.
Doesn't ring a bell.
He had gone to Pace. Pace would not, I don't even think it has a football team anymore, Division II basketball, but somehow he made it to the NFL.
There you go. Hey, if there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a player, the NFL will find you. Promise you that.
Yeah.
They'll find you. Hey, Radu, before we let you go, please just share with us why do you think it's important for what are you, 16 years old? 15,
Yeah,
16?
exactly.
Why is it important for kids your age to learn about history?
Well, because without a future, without a past, you can't have a future, and especially I don't know. It just seems so important to me because people, at least in Romania, they don't care anymore about anything. They're just ignorant, and I guess that's just how the world is today. But that shouldn't be. It's I don't know. Just the veterans and all the people that helped win the war should be remembered, because people don't realize how important it was to win that war. And if, God forbid, Nazis would have win or Japanese would have win, it will be a very different war today, and we will be. I know if I will be alive. Really, if I would have been born, actually.
Yeah, I mean, you're right there. Yeah, you're right there in Europe, you know.
Exactly, and they sacrifice so much for us, and today we can just search anything on Google, and we don't use that
Yeah.
potential that it should be used. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think it's all
Appreciate
kind
that you care.
yeah, I think it's all kind of hitting home now because there's war back on Europe soil, you know, with the invasion of sovereign country of Ukraine.
Yeah.
And
so I think it's all kind of coming back a little bit, and hopefully we can learn from the past, so you know we don't have war.
Yeah, but the thing is that history repeats itself.
Yeah,
you can't change anything. You just can delay it, I guess, because that's just the way things are, I guess, and it's our duty to learn about the mistakes, but every generation is different, and I don't know. I can't talk about the future. I just can talk about what I learned from the future, but I don't know how much it will help, because first, for instance, I want to join the military as well, and be an officer, and that's what I wanted all my life. So yeah, and
cool, good for you.
I hope I can do something, but I don't know.
No, you can. You can do anything. You can do anything you apply yourself to. If you want it, make it happen, and get it done. Trust me, you can do it all. I mean, with the right attitude, motivation, drive, go get it. You can make anything happen. Just go for it, for sure. And I know you can do it. Well, it's important for you guys, the next generation, to continue the message and keep it forward. You know, we're counting on you to extend the legacy of veterans like Mr. Arthur Grabiner. So thank you so much for joining us, being a part, and remembering history.
Thank you, sir. And I wanted to thank you for your service, because I really have a lot of respect for veterans, especially World War II and Vietnam and Afghanistan, because a lot of my friends have dads that were in Afghanistan or other Iraq, Bosnia, Kosovo, a lot. Just thank you for everything, sir. It's an honor.
Talking to you, Arthur.
Thank you.
Talking to you.
Just the image closing. If you would bring up photo Army Navy 2. Donnie was very kind to share with us his photo beside Roger Staubach and DeMarcus Ware. That was from the 2021 Army Navy game. Last year, Dad was recognized as a distinguished former member of the fleet by the United States Naval Academy, honored at the gala the night before the game, was in attendance at the game at the Link in Philadelphia this past December.
Nice.
This is Army Navy 2. And this is Dad with his friend Bill the Goat, the mascot for the United States Naval Academy.
That's awesome.
And this is on the field. And if you bring up the previous, just in closing, Army Navy photo.
Let's see.
Yes. Bill the Goat. And you know why their mascot's a goat? It was not uncommon that a goat would have been on a ship to eat the garbage. Where are you going to put the garbage when you're on a ship?
Is that for real?
Yes, that's the derivation of goat.
I
God.
know that.
Goat.
I'm learning a lot of stuff today. I'll tell you that.
So at the gala, when Dad was recognized,
Oh yeah, I have that picture.
this, Donnie will know, this is the Secretary of the Navy, Carlos Del Toro, a graduate of the Naval Academy.
Yeah, we've
And
met
on the
him.
right is Mrs. Del Toro, who grew up not far from where Dad currently lives. And this was at the Philadelphia, this is the Pennsylvania Convention Center in Philadelphia at the gala. Dad was honored and recognized by the superintendent of the United States Naval Academy, Vice Admiral.
I never had the occasion to go to USA, but
If you come, you'll meet Bill the Goat.
Yeah.
There you go.
first location, I mean, my goal, I guess, is before I die of oldness, I don't know, I want to go to Normandy and Pearl Harbor on 6th June and 7th December.
Yeah, you should. The
Absolutely.
80th of Normandy is going to be next year, which will be a big year. Be a lot of. We'll be bringing a lot of guys to that one.
2024.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
because
All right. Well, this has been
Thank
a
you.
long one, man.
yeah, I'm sorry.
So we'll let's wrap it up now.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna wrap it up with this here. How about we'll wrap it up with
Oh, the anchor's away.
Oh yeah, anchors away.
Yeah, yeah.
We can't hear it anymore, Donnie.
can't hear it?
No. It's like we can barely hear it. That's weird.
All right.
It's like cutting out the music. It's probably some.
Well, thanks for joining us, Radu.
Thank you
Yes,
for
thank you.
having me.
Thank you for
All
everyone
right.
who joined us, and
Thank you.
especially thank you, Mr. Doug and Arthur Grabiner, for coming on and sharing with us your story and so much history. And
Yes, sir.
So much good times. This one was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
I learned a lot on this one.
Oh
I'll be
yeah.
honest.
Sonny.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
This is great. So look forward to a couple weeks. There's going to be going on twice a month, and we're going to continue to do this. And this has been special. Thank you so much, both of you today, for joining us and being part. And those of you watching live, going to be watching later on. Thank you for being part of this special story.
As you say in the Navy, Semper Fortis, always courageous.
That's right. All right. Well, goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.